such an issue. What else do we have? We got a bunch of different game news, a bunch of business news. It's actually going to be a pretty busy week. So, what have you guys been playing?
By the way, just so you know, we're still on Premiere.
What's Premiere?
On the YouTube side. That's like it's not live yet. Oh, there we go. Now it's good.
Oh, it's just late on the Switch. We're in real time. It'll be late. I don't even get to pick Premiere anymore. What have you been playing? So we'll go with Silver first because he wasn't here last week. What have you been playing, Silver?
Mostly I've been playing Master of Command, which is a new indie game, a real-time strategy game, and Bloodlines 2, Vampire the Masquerade, also Space Marine 2 off and on.
What do you think of Bloodlines?
That could take a while.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's a bit like playing Duke Nukem Forever back when that released. Only it's not meant derisively. It's just it's actually here. I can't quite believe that I'm actually playing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like it. I've liked it for the most part. I think people need to adjust their expectations with what it is.
Right.
And what it is being mainly an action game. There's not a whole lot of RPG systems in it. But the combat feels fun. Even on the hardest setting.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really get tedious. That much. The enemy design does get quite samey, because you're fighting basically the same anarchs over and over and over and over again. So that does get a little bit monotonous. But the power system, the power fantasy of messing around with it and combining them to different effects and whatnot, that's really fun. And it stays fun throughout the game, or at least I felt it did. The stealth is better than the original Bloodlines. Combat is better than the original Bloodlines. The fundamental gameplay, I feel like, is better than the original Bloodlines. It's more stable than the original Bloodlines. I haven't crashed once.
Damn.
In the sequel, which is a vast improvement. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed overall. I would rate it at like a solid 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. It's solid for what it is. I've had fun with it. I feel like some of the story beats are interesting. Some of them are not so much. But I mean, there are also some major pacing issues in the game with the detective sections. They get really, really lengthy as you progress into the game. And for one thing, it really, really hurts the game's replayability. I think a lot of people feel that way. But yeah, it's fun to play around with and to actually have your hands on the game and see what they did with it. After all, like how they actually managed to sort of tie all those disparate pieces that were there together into a functional, working game that doesn't actually break.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, it may not be to the level of goodness that, say, Dead Island 2 was. Because Dead Island 2, it had its issues. It was all over the place. It had development hell, and ultimately released for a pretty high reviews. And I would say this one released a little lower on the reviews. But I have talked to people who didn't play the original who actually really like this, which I do think there's going to be some give and take there with like what we expect versus what we're going to get in a game. And there were some bugs. I did watch some people stream. They definitely were hitting bugs. But ultimately, I do think there's probably going to be more people who like this as a solid base, maybe for another game. Maybe obviously mods are probably going to do a good job.
There are also some design decisions I feel like that are a little questionable. Like in particular, the game's economy system with the blood currencies that you have to sort of accumulate to buy others, to buy skills outside of your your own personal clan. You have to accumulate blood points by going out and biting citizens throughout the city, and that becomes a really, really obnoxious grind to get that and unlock that. Because you're just biting the same people over and over
again.
and over and over and over again for like as kind of a pittance of the currency. You do also get currency for doing the side quests, but the side quests similarly really poorly designed. Unfortunately, it's just basically the same quest. One is basically go pick up a package, one is go kill this guy, and one is go kill these guys. And it's basically the same loop there, repeated over and over and over again.
Right.
So not very inventive there either. They could definitely improve that. And I think the game bears the hallmarks of the Chinese room, even though a lot of the developers on that team are new and weren't really involved with the walking simulators that they're known for. But I think the game, especially in the Fabian sections, bear hallmarks from their walking simulator legacy.
Dude, you got me more excited for this than I actually was. I don't mind the long investigative stuff. I'll probably get bored of it like you, or maybe be like, this is a little too long.
The main thing about it is that it's really, really on rails.
Yeah, I did hear that.
You're really sort of driven from point A to point B to point C during those sections.
Yeah, I don't know. I find myself more interested just hearing that. What about you, Johnny? What have you been partaking in?
So I finished Ghost of Yotei, which I'm very happy with, because the game held my attention all the way through. It's not often that happens, so I always celebrate those times. Had a great time with it. I think I put like 45 hours into it. So chunky. Definitely did a ton of side stuff, which is also kind of unusual for me. Like I maxed out a bunch of the weapons, I think all of them. And yeah, had a really good time with it. And I finished it just in time to play a little bit of Outer Worlds 2 as it came out this week too. Been really enjoying that. And really actually have been able to single task a lot more to enjoy like story games a bit more than before. Whereas before I was a bit more on the track of playing something compatible with a podcast or like having a full-on conversation. And actually been digging the almost like solitary time a little bit this week, getting into some story games. But Outer Worlds 2 has started also really, really well. So it's just a great time for games.
Yeah, weirdly. So myself, I've been doing a couple side games for like previews and reviews, but it's sort of, there's not a ton right now. So I'm identifying like what I want to make videos on. But I have done Dispatch 2 times all the way through the four discs I had, or the 4 episodes had. I had 2 episodes prior to everybody else. And then I watched Solar play it 4 times, I believe, maybe 3 times for the first 2, and then 2 times for the second 2. And I got to hats off, man. They're number 3 on Steam sales for a reason. I didn't know how that would do. With Steam sales, you never quite know. You can only really look at like those that report their sales, and then look at the games that are between those, because we don't have Dispatch numbers yet. But it is number 3 after Arc Raiders and maybe it's Battlefield. I can't remember. I've got it on my notes, but it did really well, at least, or appears to be doing really well. It didn't have a high concurrent player count, and this is where I want to point out. At some point, everybody's going to have to come to the future, which is that a concurrent player count doesn't mean as much as people think. There's 3 reasons why. 1, your PlayStation and your Xboxes don't report concurrent player counts. It's a massive deal. Without that, you could have a situation where it's doing well on PC or doing terrible on PC due to tech issues and doing fine on the consoles. That's a big deal. Number 2, some people buy a game to either play on the weekend or play at a different time, and they're not going to rush into a Dispatch game in the middle of their week, where they may jump into a single, Battlefield match occasionally. But those Dispatch episodes are long. They are not short, and you're required to sit through them. Like, you're not really able to just be like, I'm going to do a little 13-minute thing here and then save it. So people absolutely seem to have liked it. And especially when there were a bunch of us in chat doing voice chat while Solar was playing it, And what I noticed is just that they nailed the switch ups. They nailed the fact that the first time I played it, my choices were almost identical to his. I would say identical, which was weird. But then the second one, he started switching things up, and there were massive differences in the story, to the point to where I know it's done. The game's done. They're just releasing 2 a week because they want to do episodic, which I fully support. But it'll be interesting to see how some of those choices come up. And then also the sheer delight from everybody that there were mini games in it that actually weren't just press up down, but were like the hacking mini game and the strategy mini game, where I heard people playing that going, screw it, I'm going back. I'm going to try to figure out a way to get this, because I didn't get 2 or 3 of those missions, or I failed on a bunch of missions. I'm going to see if it's possible to even win. And it is. Some of the missions, there is an RNG element in there. You can fail on hacking. You can. And my personal hope is we start seeing these people saying, you know what? We need to make sure that our Telltale style games have games in them that augment the storytelling element and is not just RNG or not RNG, but isn't just choosing stuff, but has some kind of other, sort of like auxiliary or tertiary system involved that can then feed back into the narrative. Because it's great when you do well, they're like, hey, good job today. And if you do poorly, they're like, you tried. And you're all, damn, and it's not a ton, but it's enough. And that game's animation, that game's presentation is just...
It's next level, man.
It's next level. And by the way, anybody who wants to know what it is, imagine classic styled superhero looks mixed with the boys a bit, but not... It's brutal, but it's not so in-your-face brutal. And then a lot of cynicism and a lot of very modern writing that doesn't fall into slang. It's very smart. It doesn't fall into the bullshit like people misusing slop or whatever. Instead, it's like, we're going to write so that you know what we mean, but it's going to be timeless in a year. You're not going to read it going, who's got the Riz? And you're like, oh, fuck, that feels old now. It does. All that is sort of very
instantly old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It reminded me a bit of Invisible, that I think it's Invincible.
Invincible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A bit the aesthetic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
cleaner.
It was
to me.
It's cleaner, and not as like violent, I would say. It's more on the comedic side.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it falls flatly under a comedy, but it has a lot of poignant emotional moments too. Because I did the 4 episodes. I found myself like rooting for a couple characters, and then like actively hating a couple others, and like reacting to stuff. I think the voice acting is a big part of it, because Paul does an amazing job as the main character, and then like some of the side cast is brilliant too. Like Invisigal, I think was Laura Bailey. I think I got that right. She was doing that. But anyway, some great characters there. And really made me feel the FOMO of having to make a choice, but being a bit gutted that I couldn't make both in a way, because I wanted to see what the other thing was too.
Yeah, it's been very enjoyable to see people actually like those kind of games again, because for a long time you'd hear like the bullshit woke kind of thing, and you're like, seriously, people like immolating one another is not as woke as you may think, just because like, let's say there's a female as a lead, or there's somebody that you don't like as a lead. This game is like, yeah, we're gonna joke and tease and talk about the exact same things everybody else is, and they showed that you can do it, that it can be whatever. And I really just haven't heard that even brought up. Now, admittedly, I think culturally everybody's moving on. YouTube, the social dynamics, we move on from hatred to hatred quite quickly. It does feel like that's moving on quite quickly. So I do want to cover something. We're going to cover this shortly because it's not something we want to get into right now, but I do want to cover it. This past weekend, I was informed that Citizen Sleeve had passed away. So if you guys know, he's been on the podcast. I count him as a true friend. I knew him for maybe a year or two, maybe a year as like a patron. He was a game developer who we started talking. You guys know him as Citizen Sleeve, jumped in, did a ton of stuff. He, was always talking about games, movies, that kind of thing. I really do count him as like a really good personal friend for this entire time. Not really related to him coming in or being a mod or anything like that. It's like us, where if these guys stopped playing games, I'd still be like, come on in. And that kind of stuff. A great guy, always really invigorated by whatever, I guess you would say, entertainment we were talking about. That's one of the things. I also love the fact that Sleeve would just, if he didn't like it, man, he'd open up that can of whoop ass and he would just say he doesn't, even if you were directly arguing with him, he's like, well, I don't like it. And you don't meet very many people like that. You truly don't. I mean, especially not only myself, I've been in conversations with all of us where there were disagreements going on. And he's like, no. And I admit that kind of clarity, by the way, the joke about every company needs a Steve is quite literally from Citizen Sleeve. That is where the joke comes from, is that everybody needs somebody who's just like got their feet up going, but to keep privacy's sake, he passed away this last weekend. It absolutely sucks. He was definitely a part of the team, and we did announce it to the Discord last couple days. So that they could talk about it. It's sort of more about the Discord and that group because he wasn't on the podcast as much. But yeah, so thoughts out to his family. I've got to talk to one or two of them. Whoops. And sort of see where they're at and that kind of thing. And maybe I'll cut together a good edit of times where he was in the podcast where he had weird shit to say. I found him in the Tyrannosaurus Rex Delivers a Snicker podcast and a couple others. So I'm going to go ahead and check this real quick if you grab my dogs. Sure. And if you guys want to say a little bit about Sleeve, whatever, experiences, maybe a good memory.
So yeah, I mean, he was definitely a pillar of the community. He was, I think he joined maybe a couple of months after I did back 9 years ago. We got along pretty well, pretty much right out of the gate. We connected over film because we were both film buffs. We had both studied film at university. So we had a lot in common there, and turned out we also have like politics in common and a lot of other stuff. So we got pretty close. We started a podcast together, The Last Edit on movies. We really wanted to try and highlight films that didn't get a whole lot of attention, and put a focus on that. Fortunately, real life sort of got in the way of that podcast, and we moved on to other things. But we always stayed in touch. We always stayed close. He was a very, very good friend of mine. Talked to him very, very regularly, sometimes late into the night, about all things in life. And yeah, he will be sorely missed. He was very much enriched my life, very much enriched my perspective on film, on great many topics, and yeah, it's a great loss.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely loved his late night talks, man. Fall asleep,
dude,
in the middle of a late night talk. That was Sleeve. He was one of the first to you'd hear that snore and you'd be like,
yeah, I mean,
Sleeve's out.
That's one of the main things I think for the community is how active he was, particularly in the voice chat.
Yeah,
for sure. What about you? Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I was gutted because even though I wasn't as close as you guys were to him, we did talk quite a bit in private and in the voice chats and stuff. And he's just been around since I joined, the community. He's always been there. He's always been a staple of the community and stuff. I think he's embodied a lot of the values and stuff that we all also mirrored back. And so, yeah, it's a heavy one. And not to get too sad though, the main thing is a lot of gratitude for all the times spent.
Very much.
You know what even is interesting to me is that I posted that he passed away in the Discord, and I was stunned at the number of people who stated that he was one of the first contacts in the Discord. And admittedly, when I was talking to family, we were trying to see if there was any data the family might want from the Discord. And I was like, hey, we can grab whatever you want, but, and this is a problem with Discord in a way, nothing's tracked. And his time was voice chat. That was his thing. He was not, he wasn't he didn't even want to become he was an eloquent writer if he wanted to put something down, and he did occasionally, especially when he first started. But once voice chat came in, the number of people who were like, hey man, that sucks. Like, he was the very first person that like I jumped into, and everybody was in there, and he was like the one I talked to, or the one, you know, I happened to not know if we could talk about movies, and he liked movies. So we spent hours talking about movies. And I guess that's what's important about gaming, regardless of where you are or what group you're in, is that real people like multiple things, you know?
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to just be like, oh, it's about games. It's one of the reasons why I didn't post about it, because, you know, it's not my family either, but also just because until now, it's like, it's not about games or a podcast or anything like that. So the fact that I knew that guy and spent well more than 90% talking to him, not about games. He was one of the big people who would jump into the UFC events every Saturday, or the boxing events every Saturday. So, and this was natural causes, if anybody is wondering. But yeah, it sucks. So, you know, hearts out to his family, because it's been a rough go.
Yeah, especially his girlfriend.
They having some tough times. So I'll reach out to him. I'll see if they need anything. I've already reached out to him a couple times, still talking to his family, but we'll just see if he needs anything. So, but I wanted to inform people before anybody, you know, tried to, you know, found something out and we're like, why didn't you say anything? We're just trying to keep a little privacy for everybody before we jumped into it. But next up, I want to talk a little bit about Arc Raiders. So Arc Raiders popped, did quite well. It's still doing quite well. This is interesting to me on a couple different levels, man. Number one, it didn't pop above the extraction level niche. Like you saw, you could definitely tell, like the moment you saw the numbers, you're like, okay, it's sort of like knowing your audience. That's your max audience. And it seems like until extraction explodes in some way that maybe is intangible, that somebody's going to figure out, you've got this certain number of people, and that's sort of like your niche audience. But additionally, the sheer large amount of AI use that company has used in their games, including Arc Raiders, where they used it to generate and assist them create animations and designs up front and behind the scenes. But they've been very clear about it. It's on their Steam page. That is interesting to me as a discussion point in the future. We don't need to discuss it today, but it was interesting to see that, you know, other than the voice thing, I know people were mad that the finals had it, but then they were like, you know, this is a good game. And then Arc Raiders, I don't remember a ton of really complaints about Arc Raiders when I saw that they were doing, and they were pretty open about, they were doing a lot with AI. They were generating animations up front. They were generating creature design. They were doing a ton of stuff, and then they would work on top of it. So I think it'll be interesting to see if that's the, you know, good examples of the future. And maybe people will be more towards like, okay, if this tool is out there, we have to use it, or we have to understand its use at the very least. And it doesn't mean we want to make an entire game, which would be ridiculous, at least currently. But I was surprised, and it's just good. It's just generally a good game. I'm not as in love with it as a lot of people. I thought it was a good game. I've enjoyed my time shooting a couple people in it. It's good to see Extraction getting another one, because I know we're sort of getting long in the tooth. I think that a little bit of genre fatigue can feel like it's happening when really it's just same game fatigue. And so to me, seeing Arc Raiders do well indicates that it's not really a genre fatigue. I don't think there's a ton of games in there. I think a lot of it was just, a lot of these games are the old
lack
dogs.
of imagination.
Yeah, well, or just lack of ability to get another game out there. You know, it's a little difficult to like throw a game together. And Arc Raiders is doing well. It's not really doing anything different. I think that was the other thing that I saw was, which I think indicates that people are thirsty in that area, because I know I was talking to a dev guy who does a free to play one. I do as well. We both play a free to play one that's out there that's sort of an extraction one, and a bunch of people play that. So it's like people want to play them. They might just be a very difficult game to make, you know, a difficult game to like roll out. And remember, this started as a free to play sort of like PvP kind of thing and turned into a paid for PvE, PvP, also, you know, extraction game. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. Either one of you two gonna? Probably not, right? Like go ahead, Silver. What were you gonna say?
No. I'm
No.
not.
Yeah, I didn't think so. What about you, Johnny? I mean, I could see
I'm-
you maybe doing
I
it.
might dabble. I like the aesthetic of it. There was enough there that I thought looked cool to
Yeah,
me.
the aesthetic is unique, right?
Yeah, and actually, I was thinking whether the audience
Right, let's
is
see.
actually going a bit outside the usual extraction public, simply because a lot of the people who play, for example, Tarkov, they are not looking for another extraction game. They are all in on Tarkov. You know, they want the complexity of the guns and like the punishing nature. Like they want everything from Tarkov, and anything that isn't that, I think, might not hit. At least for the hardcore Tarkov enjoyers, you know, there might be a more casual subset there. But I do think this is hitting a more, maybe not full mainstream, but a lot of people who perhaps hadn't dabbled, or maybe they played some of the more casual extraction ones like Hunt Showdown, right? Or a couple of these.
Wow, he just called Hunt Showdown casual.
They're more casual.
Anyway, yeah, continue. I'm just teasing. That's gonna get somebody riled up.
I do think the third person angle makes it more approachable, actually. In a weird, not that it's like
Yeah, it makes
necessarily easier,
But you can
but
see
there is
more
something
or feel
about
like you can.
yeah, you can see more. You can feel. I think you can feel a bit safer, a bit more in control than the boom, you're dead kind of thing. I don't know. I did something about it feels much more welcoming than Tarkov or even Hunt Showdown. I mean, Hunt Showdown was quite punishing.
Yeah.
I jumped into that and I
Yes.
I got smoked.
Maybe I saw bad players, but in Ark, I saw a death rate that was far higher than I've seen in Hunt Showdown. But I guess it depends on who's playing and how long they've been playing.
Sure.
Yeah. And noobs are going to get destroyed obviously quicker. But I was watching people who'd played for a while dying very quickly too. I guess
Really?
I guess it's extraction. Weirdly enough, in my group, and it's a very small group, mind you, and I don't think we'll ever know because these numbers are impossible to track. But in my group, most of them were Tarkov fans. That were just looking for something extra. And then a couple people who were like, well, I like the sci-fi element. But what I did see is people saying, so it's not extraction or you don't die as fast. And the moment people are like, oh, no, you can die and do you lose your stuff? Yes. I saw a lot of people who hadn't played before being like, then I'm out. Which admittedly,
Right.
even in the same group of people, when let's say you do those seasons where they do destroy your stuff and you restart, you know, we got a lot of those games that are out there, your Diablo style season stuff where it's like, oh, or I don't even remember if Diablo does this anymore, but those kind of games, the isometrics where you reset, that can cause a person who likes maybe Fate, like me, I'm an older gamer who loved that game, and then you look at a Diablo and you're like, oh, great, I'm going to do this, or whatever game you're playing, and they're like, oh, yeah, but we reset your season all the time. That can cause a person to be like,
Yeah.
no. So, but I agree with you. There's going to be, for all these games, any game, there's always going to be somebody, and this one's more approachable regardless, even if it's from a graphic style. It's also different. It's just different graphically. I mean, not hugely different. It's still post-apocalyptic, but they rubbed a little color on it. And a little post-apocalyptic steam chic, you know, little pipes here, little post-apocalyptic there, and it definitely helps. I think overall we'll just have to see, but I think it bodes well for other games, not necessarily Arc Raiders. It didn't. I was hoping it would do maybe double or triple the numbers it did. That would indicate to me that we do have a like a true bona fide game that's gathering people, but it definitely bodes well, I think, for other developers who are looking at these kind of games and making them, and they feel that they can branch out to third person, like Johnny said. I think Johnny's correct that I don't necessarily think there's much of a change other than your camera angle in third person and your wide viewing angle up and above. You can see more, but that may be enough that people look at it and go, you know what? I sort of dig this. I sort of dig this camera angle. I sort of dig being able to see a little bit more. And that's helpful.
Yeah.
It
Well,
also-
with Tarkov,
Yeah,
it's
go
so complex to get into. Like I was looking at like a beginner's guide, and it was a 1 hour fully spent in the menu prior to getting into the actual game. All like explaining about the different guns, how it works, how menus work, blah blah blah, how to set up your, you know, your hotkeys, and there's so much complexity to even jump in. And this one at least feels like, if you've played shooters before, you can kind of have a crack. Like you're still gonna get smoked, right? But you can kind of jump in and play the game, you know?
Yeah, I'll have to see, because I personally feel that maybe the guide you got is from a person who knows a bunch and is trying to stop people from wasting time, which isn't necessarily the same as a newbie guide, which indicates you can get in quickly. Because I got into Tarkov with 2 buttons, start and load level.
Okay, but you play...
No,
you play shooters in like 200% speed, bro.
I'm not saying I did well. That would be the skill part. But I'm saying getting in, you know, like, but I'm not even arguing with you. I'm just saying I wonder what the focus and who that's from. Because, like, let's say I did a video on Arma. If I was not thinking about who I was doing it for and saying this is a newbie guide to Arma editing, I may end up diving into more complexity than the true Arma editing, which would be open up a level, click on the guy, there's the thing, click on this, hit a button, start the level, which would be a truly newbie, you know, level guide.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Because you are right. I mean, there's a complexity across it. And the same thing, there's a complexity because they all have a different revolving mechanism. So does, Hunt Showdown. So you're absolutely right. It's just I was wondering about that in particular, is like how, because I do know a lot of people who thought it was going to be complex and got in, and then you're stuck with what you just said, but you also play these. And I guess it's like your true, you know what our true litmus test would be? Getting a guy who plays only Minecraft. Right.
Yes.
And then going like, okay, you only play Minecraft, you only play Minecraft, you only play Minecraft. All 3 of you need to go into separate of these type of games and then report back like the true, were you able to just jump in and shoot people? Because I think a lot of people do understand bad guy, shoot bad guy. There's at least that. And then the rest is sort of added on. But yeah, you're all right. You are right on all that. Yeah, it's cool to see. I also like some of their robot designs. I thought they were really good. You know, again, I don't even know if people would get mad by, you know, somebody saying that, but it's like, I like them. I saw the spider guy. I think it was like a short for Dr. Disrespect, who was like, that guy won't come up here. And he shot at it. And it was way away, and he's like, it won't come up here. You know, I can plink it, and then it like leapt up. And some of it appeared staged, which it could have been. But it was still funny that like they can move around the level, which is always good, right? That feeling that an enemy can be like, no, bitch, I'm coming after you.
Yep.
You can't just pot shot at me. You know, this is not Golden Eyes or whatever, where the enemy's AI doesn't even turn on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the PvE part is a differentiator, because some of these other games, the PvE part is not as interesting. It's more about the PvP. I mean, Hunt Showdown had some interesting bosses.
Really interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I would actually,
and I don't know much about Tarkov.
Tarkov
so
might
maybe
be less because their AI isn't great from what I've heard. Yeah, that's a lot from Abzi, who may be coming at it from a more critical stance, though.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So those could also be great, but I did notice like the designs were really cool, and it looked like there was a great deal of depth just in the PvE part itself.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see where that goes. And then Battlefield 6, so they did their Battle Royale. I haven't got a chance to play it. It definitely seems to have landed in the middle ground. Saw some people who were like, oh, man, I'm really digging this. And then I think there's some complaints about a map of some kind. I don't know. This was all coming in hot when I was getting ready to do the podcast and like looking at some of the past comments. There was a lot of like back and forth about it, but they've got that as well. It's doing well. So I feel like now we got Call of Duty, got don't remember what other like big those might be the big 3 shooters of this of this, I guess you'd say, holiday, maybe January, February, March season. They all seem to have a lot of going on. We'll have to see Call of Duty's numbers. I expect they won't be bad. So what you have is this awesome time where if you want to do Extraction, you've got a new one. If you want to do Battlefield, which admittedly in the past I would have said is a slower, more methodical game, that's sort of gone the wayside completely. Like for a company that continually tries to pretend they're not COD, they are COD. They like legitimately went out there and were like, let's copy a bunch of shit from COD, which is fine. But it's doing well too. And then you have COD coming, which may be the one where the campaign matters, which also is weird because Battlefield's campaign was and at least with COD, they're going somewhere where I have no clue where they're going. And I'm very interested in where they're going. Like, like, will that campaign pay off? You know, what will that end up be like? I'm excited for that one, actually. And then there's Outer Worlds. So Johnny played the start. He liked the starting. I definitely would say the starting seems to be a little contentious with people. How long it can be for some people. They find it to be strangely long, especially when you realize the first mission isn't really the starting. And then you go into the first area, and that's the starting, and the starting seems to start for a long fucking time. What did you like? First of all, how about that? Let's talk about something. That first mission. What are your thoughts on, without giving any spoilers, what are your thoughts on that very first, the stuff I showed in the preview? You're going out and you're making the attack, you're staging the attack on that place. What did you think of that as a whole?
I thought it was fine. I didn't know anything about it because I saw some of your stuff, but it didn't spoil anything necessarily.
Good.
So I didn't know it was going to be like that.
Okay.
And I thought it worked well. I think in general, keep it vague, like the time jump thing really worked for me. I thought that was a cool... They've done it in other games, right? Where like the game starts, there's some type of time jump, something along those lines. I like that as a story vessel, you know, like a way to show time past and consequences being netted out from something. We'll have to see how it kind of goes from there, because I haven't gone too much further after that initial like part. I maybe played like a little bit after that, so still pretty early, but I like how it plays a great deal. I'm playing like a lucky character, so I have luck, and I'm gonna be trying to do like crits with weapons and stuff. And I'm playing on the so it's not the normal difficulty, it's the one above. I wanted to make it a bit challenging and like die
chunky.
a few times, you know?
Right.
Yeah, like, you know, smoke me a few times and stuff, like make me sweat for it at times. And definitely liking the gameplay so far. I've always liked the science gadgets, you know, like from the first one. They're here again and stuff like that. So I'm definitely gonna invest points into that. And overall, I think the character creator is a bit lean. I agree with what you said there.
Yeah.
Not a ton of,
no.
you know, not a ton to get from that. But so far, the voice acting is great, and the story seems to flow pretty well. So I'm excited. Also, looks great. You know, it's I think it's a different engine altogether, right? With UE5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff looked great. I mean, some cutscenes look spectacular, and then the normal gameplay is like just improved on the first one. So it's also been running really well on my machine. I don't know about you guys, but I did put DLSS on quality, but in 4K, for me, it's been running really well.
The only thing I noticed about that game, Silver, first of all, are you going to play Outer Worlds 2? Soon.
At some point, I will be.
At some point, okay.
I'm not sure how soon it will be.
Okay. So, normally, as always, we will try to be lean on any spoilers. There were a couple things, Johnny, that I noticed. It's a heavier game with ray tracing than I expected. Because if you turn the ray tracing on and off, you get slightly adjusted shadows. You get a little bit better color. And honestly, I think it's authored quite well. Absy had come into chat. We were talking about it, and he was like, what do you think? Because I feel like, for whatever reason, this is reminding me of, let's say, Control or other games where you don't mind the game that's well authored that doesn't have ray tracing. And I would agree. I don't think ray tracing in this game is at all worth the FPS hit. Unless you have a powerful system like I do or whatever. If you're a middling system, if you turn off ray tracing, you're not missing much at all. There's great effects for reflection. There's great effects for the water, great effects for the lighting, great effects for the shadows, all without needing ray tracing. And then, of course, you do have your DLSS and stuff on top. So, but I noticed it was just, there are times where I'm looking at it going, man, especially later on, that it just wasn't, it was running well, but it wasn't running as well as what I was seeing on screen, where I was like, this is interesting. And a lot of it was due to the top 3 offenders, like any of your shadow stuff. If you have that on Ultra or whatever, you're going to notice 12, 15 FPS drop just from that. And then ray tracing is going to be a pretty massive one. But I did like that you can mix and match you can do FSR and then DLSS for your frame gen if you don't like the FSR frame gen, which is always nice that you can mix and match those. So,
I will say I turned it off too pretty quickly.
Yeah.
RTX.
Yeah.
Because it ran so much better.
Yeah, it just feels better. And whatever you would have noticed, you're still seeing the color and the artwork. It's a standout feature of Outer Worlds or Control or other games where the design is good enough that you do not need some perfectly reflected,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I was showing people how screen space works in the chat about 2 weeks ago. And they were like, you're telling me all the RTX stuff that people talk about where they're like, oh, fake reflections, blah, 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 is this is the difference? Is if the reflective surface comes out of the screen, you can't see it on the pool? And I'm all that, yeah, that is all it is. That part, that in particular. And they're like, well, fuck that. I'm just playing it on normal. Like, I'm not going to be sitting there looking at half the screen consistently trying to make sure a light isn't viewable to, verify it's in the reflection. So it's good to see it authored well. I love their design, man. And I think the characters look wicked good in this game. Way better than the characters in the last game. Like
the
their
models?
hair, yeah, dude, the models, the lighting on them. You meet some of the game characters and you're like, oh my God, a character I'll remember in a half a year instead of considering them to be NPC gun shop owner. You'd be like, oh, that's the girl with the super curly hair and like the flight suit. Like I'll remember her because in all honesty, they're also more attractive to look at. Like they look less like mannequins that move and more like people in a game, which I think Outer Worlds 1 had that issue of, aside from Pavardi and, a couple others. They were sort of rough looking.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I got to ask you, did it matter to you that you can't see the specials from your secondary people? As in like a cutscene. So if you remember in the first game, if they had a hammer, they would it would cutscene to them with the hammer. The chick would smoke wagon with the double revolvers.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I miss it. I missed it in Avowed, and I miss it greatly. Yes, because Outer Worlds, that's what I loved about Outer Worlds, were these people doing crazy things. And to me, that was a reward and maybe a moment to refresh myself as they did it and watch them take somebody down and be like, yeah. And instead you get like a slow motion gelatinous blob of a monster flipping into the background occasionally. And you're like,
yeah,
okay. So I feel like the presentation...
I can see that angle. Yeah. I like that it doesn't stop stuff as much.
Yeah, true.
So I like the fluidity of that.
Absolutely true.
But
I wish you could have turned it on.
But I take your point. Yeah, there's an element of like dopamine with that, where just
there's also
hard.
some character building in it. I know it sounds dumb, but seeing one of your characters pull some special move off makes them a character more to me than if they're just a highlighted button and you hear them yell and you see bigger lasers. I know that sounds weird, but it's like that's what happens right in that game is you trigger their special and you see bigger lasers. Unless you could turn it on with something, and I missed it, but I looked in the options. I didn't see it in any of the skill sets that it was like, hey, you can do this. What do you think about outfitting your character? Do you like the way it works, or have you got that far? If you haven't got that far,
no, I really haven't got that far. I only just started with that system. I like the stuff with the traits, how they balance it out where like you can get an extra positive in the beginning, but then you have a negative one and they can be pretty bad. So I like the choices because like we said, you can't respec.
Yeah.
So you do have to live with those choices. And I almost made one I know I would have regretted, which like some of those negative perks.
Some of those negatives
they
are
sounded
negative.
Like, yeah, at first I thought I can live with that. And then I'm glad I thought like a little bit further ahead and was like, nope.
Also, I love having the option to show me what other options I'm missing. I know some people don't like it. I love it. So I turn that on when I'm talking to somebody. I love that this game takes all your skills into effect. There'll be skills that'll pop up in a conversation and I'll be like, how does like junkyard dog as a skill matter in this conversation? Because I don't have it, or that's me making up a skill name. I can't remember what it was, but there was one in particular where I was like, I don't have that. And you're not far enough, and I don't want to spoiler it. But there are some pretty massive choices in the game.
I've seen some funny ones because I'm a gambler. My background is a gambler, and I have the lucky trait. So my whole role playing is around. I'm
Lucky.
this sort of dopamine addict, like a gambler guy, playing for crits and all that. And there's been some funny dialogue where, because I was a gambler, I had like some sort of degenerate dialogue options in there that were kind of funny.
There is some huge choices in this game. There's also, I can't wait till you guys play it. I know Silver played this game. I'm not even going to bring it up because I think he'll know it would ruin it. There are some older games. This game almost cribs moment for moment in a quest or 2 or 3 that I thought it's going to rub people either, oh, nostalgia, or what the fuck? Like, I know exactly, like, this is directly from a prior game. That's all I'll say. And because it's not super long in, I don't think have you got to the second area? The third, ignore the first mission. That's 1. Second is your planet. Have you gone
right?
planet?
I'm in that okay. Second.
When you go off planet, let's talk again, because I really want to see what your thoughts are on that. Bob 2, $10 super chat. As someone who spent thousands of hours in Battlefield, BF6 is fun.
Wow.
But I agree with a lot of people saying it's trying to be a lot like COD, which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's doing well. So maybe you and I are odd men out, and it's not unfortunate. And maybe if it had stuck over there, that it wouldn't be doing as well. I don't know, but I agree with you. It's weird. I asked everybody what they were playing. Goes to Yotai. Reth is playing Power Wash Simulator 2. It's great. Kale says, I do like how you can give full limb prosthetics for your characters. Outer Worlds, that's what he's talking about. Dion says, I still haven't played Outer Worlds 1. And then Bro says, the guy talking in the top left is in obesity denial. That would be me, I guess. I don't know what obesity denial means, but that's awesome. Obesity denial sounds like something ChatGPT would make up as a real illness, and you would be like, what is that? And you look it up, and then you find out that it's just made up. You're a good man, bro. Funny stuff.
It's also one of those things you can't disprove. Like, in a way, it's like this weird thing. They're just like putting that on you. Like
putting it out there. Yeah, maybe so.
Like,
there's no denying he's an idiot.
So, like, projecting. Yeah, just projecting a bunch of shit.
But yeah, so when you look at it, like, that's one of the things I do like when you're playing Outer Worlds 2 in particular, is that you have all of these choices, the skills, they show up. You have the ability to turn off or not, or ignore the flaws that pop up. So the way you play will pop up a flaw, and you'll be like, I need to figure out, do I want to take this flaw or do I not want to? But you know it's out there. And I do like some of the flaws, except they are rough. Those flaws are... Some of those are really rough.
Yeah.
To the point to where I would say I don't think a lot of people are going to choose them their first playthrough, because there was one flaw that popped up and I'm like, man, that's going to adjust in great amounts.
You got to live with that your whole playthrough, man.
Yeah, for sure. Markov says, Maskinov says, I would pay money to listen to a Cardi B album with Carrick. Shinobi Art of Vengeance and Battlefront 2 is Ghost Wired Ghoul playing that. Jet Black Ninja is doing BF6, Arc Raiders, and Dispatch. Man, a lot of people are doing Dispatch. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome. It's so great to see that game doing well, man. I mean, you know, there's a new what do you call it? There's a new Life is Strange coming out, and like I guess it's not new, but it's the continuation of Double Exposure. So like the idea of being able to see that and see if that does well as well. Maybe they just weren't in for a while. I don't know. Eternal does say this: some of the flaws cancel out the perks, so they're pointless. Some of the things turn your Spotify comments back on, cowards. Spotify comments are on, jackass. We just had comments yesterday, numbnuts. Dude, there's always somebody in there who's trying to...
Get your shit right, at least.
Yeah,
get your shit gonna right. Talk shit.
Hey, guess what?
I find interesting...
Bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna be right. Anyway, what were you saying?
Well, this what Eternal mentioned is true. I did see some flaws that would kind of like counteract perks or
Mhm.
buffs. But I think the beauty with that is that you are at all times choosing to go down one or two paths, and that is at the detriment of all the rest. So in a sense, you need to choose what you want to be really good at. It's going to be, 2, 3 things maybe. And then the other stuff, you kind of have to be okay with not being great at it.
Yeah.
And sometimes
yeah.
you can use a flaw to be
Yes.
better at other stuff
Yep.
while being worse at, that, which I think is a clever system.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's why I wasn't taking it really as a cancellation of a perk. I was taking it more of a mini max.
Right, because you wouldn't take two conflicting.
Yeah. As you raise,
that's
up
on
strength,
you.
and it's like you're weak. You're weak. It's like
Yeah.
It's on. Yeah, I guess it is on you a little bit. Rocky says dispatch. I'm assuming is it looks like invincible, and I love that. Massimoff says dispatch voice acting is just so amazing. Feels natural, not forced. Yeah, I would agree with that. Kig says, gonna play some Tales of Xillia, also Tales of Exilia. I don't know. I also got Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remaster. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
I saw the
what were you saying?
remasters. Well, I was going to say about Dispatch, one thing I thought people would miss is the ability to walk around freely.
Right,
But
the 3D walk around.
I haven't heard anybody mention that.
Neither
In
have I.
fact, I think it just flows better without it, weirdly. It's one of those things I think was just not needed.
Yeah, why rub
and instead
and
these games
fondle
just,
shit and instead just have it presented to you in a great way, right?
Yeah, and with good mini games, just
the mini games help a great deal, man. They help a bunch. But yeah, so Battlefield's doing well, Ark's doing well, and Dispatch is doing well. Looking at the top 20, let's talk about some Steam sales. Counter-Strike is number 4. Number 6 is the Outer Worlds. Okay, great. All right. Claire is still here. Expedition 33 is still in there.
Wow.
Marvel Rivals is number 10. And remember, we figured this out. Well, we didn't figure it out. They announced that Steam sales also just means like total income, right? Isn't that what we figured out? Because they had free-to-play games on there, and they have their Steam Deck on there. It's honestly, I always feel like the Steam top sellers has nothing to do with them saying that games are selling well. It's them wanting to show their games or their devices. Like Steam Deck is on there in the game.
Is it like people installing the game counts as buying it?
No. It's income from the game, like income in particular, or income from the Steam Deck or micros. Yeah,
all of this stuff too.
Yeah, because number 14 is Crusader Kings, man.
Wow.
I bet you they're happy with that. Crusader Kings got a big patch. Well, I was looking at my
a big update.
A big update, yeah. I was didn't they get a Chinese kingdom as well?
Yes.
So that'd be cool. I was looking at my friends list, guys. So like Discord, Xbox, I grabbed my friends list and looked, and I was stunned at how many people were playing Crusader Kings. Number 1 was Outer Worlds. Number 2 was, I think, Arc Raiders. Number 3 was Battlefield, and number 4 was friggin' some other game I can't remember. Or number 4 was Crusader Kings, which was pretty stunning to me that many people are playing it. So it's cool to see. What else is on this list?
Master of Command was also high up, I think, this week.
Good for them. Damn, really? I haven't checked that one out.
Yeah, the Griff mentioned it in like one of his devlog from like yesterday, I think it was, that they made it up on the Steam charts. Yeah. For a short bit, they were quickly supplanted, but yeah, initially, like right at their launch, they sold really, really well.
So did
go
ahead.
They've been high. Like that's also one of the things he said. That he was very frustrated with a lot of the content creators on YouTube because they really, really hyped the game.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of YouTube content creators that said it would be a total war killer, and it's a game. It's a 2D sprite-based game made by like 3 people and mainly one guy. So, it set some expectations that were going to be impossible to meet. It's not really a total war game. It's a roguelike game. Master of Command. It's probably the best strategy game I've played in a couple of years.
Damn. Okay.
It's they've done a lot with a lot of interesting systems. Like it's based in the 7 Years' War. You can pick one of the 5 nations: France, Austria, Russia, Prussia, or Great Britain. It's gunpowder, powder and shot based. So you have line infantry standing, shooting volleys into each other with gunpowder effects, gunpowder smoke across the levels. It's really engaging. It feels really deep tactically. The decisions you make on the campaign map in terms of like accumulating items and having to manage your resources, your provisions, your ammo and whatnot as you go on a 3-act campaign, is really compelling, and it's really, really difficult. It's a game you should not expect to complete probably on your first or second runs. But you learn as you go, and it's really, really rewarding, and I found it to be one of the better releases this year.
Damn, I might check that out then. Yeah, I would say I don't think they did it, but you could, if you wanted to, crater a game quite quickly by calling the blankety blank killer, especially if there's really no overlap there, because you're automatically setting people, not only expectations, but the lovers of the original game to hate your game. Like, to me, that is really stupid to say anyway, because nothing kills something else. We've seen it with games. If a game is good, really nothing kills it. Even the sequel to the same game, by the way. Look at Space Marine 2. Bunch of people played Space Marine 2. Space Marine 1 was doing quite well on its own. So you're not magically killing anything. That's something that is just sort of like the goose step of stupidity that we see in a lot, especially on YouTuber side. I'll take full, like, you know, it's my platform, or the platform I'm on where that happens.
It's
and
the Highlander mentality.
Yeah, there can only be one. Yeah, and then you watch Highlander, and there's 800 immortals.
Even literally not just one.
Even Highlander was like, "Fuck you, idiot." Next up, so speaking of idiots, Nintendo once again just leveling up in stupidity. They continually tried to get patents for stuff, and it looks like those have been, at least one of those has been turned back, which I believe was the patent for collecting the monster in the ball, correct?
The monster catching element.
Yeah, so Nintendo got the fruits of their labor, which, you know, luckily was the C-section, and that baby died. Good. Yeah,
I think they can appeal.
Stupid patent.
But
yeah, they can appeal.
It's basically been denied, you know, at this point, which honestly, thank God, because it didn't make any sense for that to be patented. You know, like that's just such a prevalent thing to like catch monsters. You know, it's such a generic, it would be crazy to patent that.
Patent it 20 years ago, maybe. I wouldn't have liked it, but it's like you patent it now after many times. It's like at some point, you know, that deal is lost. You know, you can't.
And it's pervasive in the culture. Like there's no sense in which they own.
Yeah.
No.
I feel that the term killer only works on games with paid subscriptions.
You see, not necessarily, because
so. I mean,
some people sub to 2 games, you know, like Final Fantasy 14 and WoW.
Yeah,
I know people who play. You know what I mean? Like
most of the people
there's
I know
some overlap
sub to both of those. I mean, whatever. Or by the way, I know Josh, a bunch of people sub to like 9 Diablo clones and Diablo stuff. You know, I don't know if it's a sub right now, but like what I mean is that
might
overlap.
Not be a sub, but the overlap is there.
Also, I think the nice thing is there's less paid for subscription games too. Well, nice is relative, because I think some of them might make sense to do. You know, it depends on, every company is going to do their financing different. And if it's a good sub, meaning it's really, I guess you would say, forward centric, and it's like, here's why you're doing it. And there's a reason why you're doing it. I could see that. It's very rare. But this reminds me of the video I did at the start of the week, which, dude, it's hilarious, man. Sean Layden went out there and he's like, yeah, man, service games aren't games. And I'm like, dude,
bro,
that's like what a 13-year-old says when he wants to try to remove something from a discussion. They are games, and you want to say they're games because you want to be able to compare them and say why they do not appeal in the same way as the other games. You do not pretend they are not, because they'll just sneak up and kick the living shit out of you. You absolutely have to look at your enemy. How do I know this? Look at any sport. I'm not worried about number 6 out of the top 10. Number 6 kicks the shit out of the guy who has the championship. It happens all the time. You can't just be like, I'm going to negate this and pretend the word doesn't matter and it doesn't fit my little tiny tight, description. Also, he is working for Tencent, which is the copy-paste master of the universe, which feels a little weird. So would we say copy-paste is not a game then? If the next game is copy-paste? Probably not. We'd just say
it's a
copy
rhetorical
paste.
flourish that reminds me a lot of the EA's old. No, it's not loot boxes. It's surprise mechanics.
Yeah. Or gotcha. I'm still hot on gotcha because I still feel like a lot of the same similar things are there, and yet a lot of people are just okay with that, but not okay with this. Blah blah blah. It's like, you know what? They're all technically a microtransaction of some kind. That is what they are, and it's easier and it's better. And by the way, scientifically accurate if people care about science, to actually compare those things that are similar and then be like, why is one different than the other, but they're still similar? Like, you can do that. But for some reason, people, Sean, who was one of my favorite CEOs of Sony, Concrete Genie, he, brought those into effect. Also, by the way, after stating that they're not games, he called them games 11 times. Just saying. If you can't come up with whatever other term you want to come up with and you say they're not this, and then you use that term for those things 11 times in the same discussion, that's on you. Also, he's the one who greenlit little game we like to call Helldivers 2. Guess what Helldivers 2 is? So,
live service game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely idiotic thing to say, but toe in the company line. He just needs to copy paste somebody else's company line because they're good at that. Tencent is
It is
great.
interesting that we don't see the paid subscription model very often at all, right? You got WoW, Final Fantasy 14, trying to think of some other like prevalent current ones, but there aren't that many. Like, it's pretty rare. We had the Dune MMO, which could have potentially gone. It wasn't a paid subscription,
but it could have been.
It could have been, Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, they started dying out like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, before then, they were quite prevalent, but yeah.
They've
been dying out little by little.
I think it makes sense to just be like,
in terms of in favor of the games as a service thing where you buy the season pass or whatever.
Yeah. They basically altered it to make you pay for later stuff. The great thing about some of those games is they don't play worse than a paid-for game like they used to. I'm a big fan of old free-to-play games for their generic just go in and play like a podcast, but I could tell you right up, you could tell a mile away. You'd see one, be like, free-to-play game for sure. One of the 55 Chinese clones of like third Destiny games or, the Three Kingdom games. And then after a while, you were like, those are looking better and better. And then pretty soon you're at a point to where you're like, all right, so subscription service probably isn't going to pay off. Also, subscription services, regardless of a lot of dissimilarities, they are compared to TV subscription services. They're compared to anything that's $30, let's say. If you have something that's $30 a month, at some point you're going to compare it to something else that, even if that's the only comparison, is the $30. It is still cash, and you still see it on your, you continue to see it pop up pretty soon. If you have to cut a cost, you're going to have to compare those two things and be like, $30, $15.
I think it's also just a result of how they worked back in the day, not being tenable anymore.
Agreed.
Because I mean, you would pay the monthly fee, but that wouldn't include new content coming out.
Yeah.
So
true.
if there was like a new expansion pack or whatever for the MMO, you would have to buy the expansion pack on top of the subscription fee you were paying.
Yeah, that is true.
Some games have a free version. Like the last thing that occurred to me, like Genshin Impact. It's a great free experience. You can jump in, play. If you like it, you can choose to engage with the gacha stuff or not at all, which is nice. And then if you want to, you can pay the subscription, which is like $10 a month, and you get a certain amount of like gacha rolls and stuff.
Yeah, that is true. It is true. There's all kinds
I
of
like
different
the
systems.
option.
I like the option too. And let them rest on the free market. If they want to do it, then they better damn well deliver whatever it is they want to deliver, whether it be free to play and making you pay for the in stuff, free to play cosmetics, whatever it may be. They're all sort of in now. That battle and that ship has passed too. Remember, I'm sure you guys remember 10 years ago, if we had done this podcast, our discussion about micros and loot boxes and stuff would have been vastly different than 5 years ago. It's now vastly different today.
I mean, it was,
Mhm.
because we talked about it back then, so it was, yeah.
Amazon canceled its new Lord of the Rings MMO amid layoffs. So Amazon, what was it, 14,000 within their staffs of layoffs? So Amazon is they just have failed left and right. And I think it does show that if you don't have any direction and you don't give a game room to breathe, most likely that game is just not going to succeed no matter how much money you throw at it in a short period of time, especially direction, because you can keep people focused on something. They said significant cuts at Amazon. Laid off developer indicates that in development, Lord of the Rings MMO has been axed. So I have a question for you guys, and this is not me dissing on the Hobbit movies. I feel like Lord of the Rings has been dramatically blown out of proportion in its popularity, most likely because of the first 3 movies. But there have been a lot of games that have thought, let's throw Gollum into a game. And we're all like, what now? Who? Why?
Yeah. Sorry, what? Yeah.
And I think Lord of the Rings is definitely popular, but I do think that the idea of playing rip-off Gandalf in an MMO, or an MMO where people are that powerful, there is a very weird dynamic in Lord of the Rings, and that's because it was a novel. It was never prepared for game. It was made before games were a thing. There was probably no planning whatsoever. You know, Tolkien wasn't at his desk making Elvish and also going, how are we going to handle the free-to-play mechanics if this ever becomes a video game? So the world and its heroes and its setups, they're not dramatically opposed to an MMO, but this is the same thing, by the way, that happened with Dragonlance, one of the biggest fictional series in the world for D&D style stuff, because they had their heroes, your Raistlin, your was it Caramon, your Tanis, half elven. You had these major characters, and whenever you made a character when you were playing the D&D version of the game, you were always like, well, should I be called like Banis half elf instead of Tanis half elf? Because like that's what I am. I'm sort of a ripoff of him, because the heroes become so prominent and they're world-changing heroes, meaning anything you do feels a little potpourri, a little like I'm just in there with everything else and I'm not really standing above. Shadow. Yeah, a lot. I think Lord of the Rings isn't a good idea for an MMO. I just don't. Warhammer is, because Warhammer is a grind fest and every hero comes up, pops up and goes, look at me, and they're dead. So you're like, all right, that's cool. That works.
It's not the, the Aragorn show, or the Legolas show, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And it just seems to me that was a mistake from the very start. And they own the Lord of the Rings IP, right? Because of the shows and all that kind of stuff, or at least they have a stranglehold on it, apparently. I don't know if they own it, but it seems like that's what they were trying to take advantage of, and it didn't work. And it probably... I'm not 100%
I mean, Lotro
sure.
has been fairly popular.
What has, buddy?
Lotro, the Lord of the Rings Online MMO.
The old one?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's so different from like spending $150 million to make a new one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And it's weird because it seems it would fit perfectly into an RPG game, right? Because you have the archetypes of the knight, the archer, everything just fits so well into the archetypal like roles in those games. But like you say, the moment you kind of go away from the main stories we love, like those like 3 movies, like you said, it kind of loses its luster, like cooking as a rando in the Shire recently in the cozy game they released, or mining down as a dwarf, as a random dwarf. Also another game that popped up.
The Mines of Moria.
And then Gollum. To me, none of those had anything recognizable or kind of reminiscent of the experience.
See, I was hyped for the Shire game. The only thing that kept me kept me off it was the actual reviews of it.
Yeah, it was terrible.
That it was terrible. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me too is the archetype question. When the red box for D&D came out, the archetypes were, you know, your fighter, your wizard, your warrior, blah blah blah, right? And then
Yeah.
Kryn came, Dragonlance came, and the archetypes were still that, but you in your head knew that what they really meant was Tanis when they said ranger. So I think Lord of the Rings has the same problem. They do have archetypes, warrior, knight, whatever, but guess what? Who do you think? There's only one fucking guy you think of when somebody says like bowman in a Lord of the Rings. Or you think of the jackass who held on to the fucking arrow too long in Helm's Deep and accidentally shot and started the fight. One of the two. Well, that's all you're thinking of because you're just like, dude, there's nobody else. They are the archetypes. Like they are, even if you change their name, that's what they are. Where with D&D, with all these other things, they're so widely diverse. And again, a bit of a mulch factory where Lord of the Rings, not that people didn't die, but I would say that they were just there. I mean, even Aragorn, after all that shit, lived to be like 6,500 years old or whatever. And the elves stuck around to watch him die. And that was it. And you were like, all right, so yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. But it fits with what Amazon was trying to do, which I just think was dumb. What were you saying? Silver, go for it.
I feel like you could do something, but you would have to make it very different from.
Yes.
Like you it wouldn't. I don't think it would work setting it in the timeline of the movies for the reason you talk about there, like the late Third Age. But maybe like earlier, like with the Witch King, like the rise of the Witch King in Angmar and whatnot, in those wars. Maybe you could set it around there.
Maybe so. Yeah, it's got a bit of a Star Wars problem too.
Characters there, but maybe that would help sort of pull characters out from underneath the shadows of the like famous characters and introduce some other ones to the mainstream crowd. But I think that would have to be the strategy over cashing in on the movie property.
What is the Star Wars problem?
Star Wars has this is a big problem with Star Wars. Star Wars initially had a world that was quite lean in the hero. You had basically three, and they had killed the Jedi. There was only one Sith, or two technically, and you had your sort of setup. What happened with Star Wars is they had the legends, your old stuff, which now isn't canon, but is becoming canon every day. There's a new thing that Disney's like, well, that is canon. This character's canon. The issue is that there was so much content that the timelines were truncated. So any timeline you jumped into, you couldn't be a Sith. Or if you did, you would have to be trying to take out the one of the two that all the novels were about. And Darth Revan, there's a ton of them. They have some really weird names, so I don't want to try to mispronounce them, but there's a bunch of high and low characters, and you have a situation where they benefited from the structure of killing all the Jedi for the movies, but it does not translate greatly when you start jumping out into other things, because there's always sort of a hierarchy of who the real leaders are. You're always like hearing about. Let me give you an example. In the design documents for many Star Wars MMOs that have come and gone, and many Star Wars single player games like 1313 that have come and gone, the issue is so prominent that it actually discusses how to not discuss the heroes and why they don't show up. For example, if you wanted to be a criminal in a Spider-Man New York, if you do too well, who's going to show up? Spider-Man. And what happens here is you're like, well, would Luke show up if I was doing this? Or would I be caught, would these things happen because of it? Or am I just trying to be Luke 0.2? Am I just trying to be Han Solo 2.0? Those kind of things do pop up, but they were so prevalent that people are like, let's do a game without Jedi. That indicate personally, I think it's good. I would have loved to have seen 1313, but it also indicates a bad problem, which is that movies are great and shows are great, but making them into games has inherent difficulties that are far beyond. I'm actually in a Discord with some developers right now talking about IPs in games. One of the guys is working on a major IP, and to hear their discussions internally, you pretend like you're not talking about what you're talking about, which I thought was so interesting. He was like, we will be in a meeting and everybody will be talking as if they're not talking about the thing that is the actual problem. And so everybody will leave going, yeah, I think, I think we got it. We're not going to have a Jedi. But then you realize by saying you're not going to have a Jedi, the Jedi are the problem anyway. And now you have to structure the actual game around, and by the way, it's not a Star Wars game. Whatever you structure your game around is now truncated off to the side, and a player will feel that quite quickly. A player will be like,
sure,
why is this all truncated off, and what's happening in this spot?
Or like, why aren't the Avengers here?
Yeah, why aren't the Avengers? The movies have a
always
problem
been,
with that. Dude, the movies you'll have people watching the movies going, I'm not quite understanding why Wolverine didn't show up this entire time with these other, you're like, especially if people are dying.
Did Captain America like have an appointment? The world is at stake,
it's
right?
It's just hard. It is. Anything with a long structure like that's hard. So Silent Hill 2 remake got rated for the Xbox Series X and S. This is on the heels of exclusivity supposedly dying out after a year, and it's also what we're hearing, and be expecting, it's not a leak or anything, this is for sure known, be expecting to see a lot of games that were exclusive either being announced as not exclusive, or those exclusivity windows being a year and no greater. Most of the companies, even the small devs I'm talking to, most of those companies are like, nah, we're not going to just release on one system anymore, especially now that the gate has been opened. That's the other thing to remember. When the gate is opened, it never shuts in gaming. I don't think there's a history of a gate being opened and it being slammed shut. It's been slammed shut, I guess you would say, on microtransactions in some ways and in some nations with their rules, but they figured out a way around that, right? So once the gate's open, it's open. Companies are starting to see, every company I've talked to, I'm consulting with one. It's like, what are your plans for, what are your plans for this? What are your plans for that? And they're like, dude, Forza was the #1 seller in the PlayStation Store. Of course, we're releasing on all systems. I was like, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. It was like, this is ridiculous. Like, that kind of stuff is sort of going quickly by the wayside. And the big companies will have to figure out what they do. And then I saw somebody saying, well, exclusives aren't important anymore. They are important. They are. This is what I hate, guys. Why pretend, again, you're pretending as if you're removing it from the discussion. Exclusives can be important. It's just that you have to take into account what you may be losing, or you do your exclusive differently. Because I saw somebody, I think it was somebody at Xbox saying exclusives don't matter much anymore, or maybe they're the old way of doing things. They are right. That is right. But they do matter too. Because I saw somebody else saying, tell that to Nintendo. I can't remember what it was. It was one of the jackasses that's always on Twitter. I can't remember. It was one of the CEOs. These guys, whenever they move companies, start to turn into just dramatic jackasses on Twitter. And somebody was like, oh, tell that to Nintendo. And I'm like, Nintendo's already tried many times to figure out ways to do mobile. And if they have an issue with the Switch not doing well, they'll look at others. They also worked with Ubisoft to do Raving Rabbids and Mario. They're not necessary. And wasn't Master Chief in the 2D Smash Brothers? I could be wrong on that. But there's by the way, that's external coming in, but they are looking at internal going out, and especially if they have a financial issue. Because here's the thing. It's possible that a company would say, we'd rather go out of business and die and all of our employees lose their wages forever than put our games on something else. It's possible. In the same way that it's possible that the sun is magically replaced by a black hole tomorrow. Finances drive everything. And at some point, you could see that. Like, I don't think it's super, I don't see a high chance of it. But if the Switch 2 started to die out or something, if it hadn't done as well, we would have seen it. It's just that they're later to the party. And they're doing quite well. But I could see them looking at other systems going, and other companies are looking at them. I think the tide's changing in that way. So it's just, I hate that stuff.
Could they be doing even better maybe if they open it up,
Yeah. And if they need extra money for their next hardware because of tariffs, do you start releasing some games everywhere to make some money so you can get your coffers higher so that you can pay, can you offset the cost of a new handheld that's more powerful? Switch 2 is going to be quite quickly supplanted by other consoles, other systems at some point too. And luckily we don't have a ray tracing, Johnny. That's the best thing about this gen. No ray tracing line in the sand. That was the big problem we had, was that a company artificially added a line in the sand. You don't have ray tracing because you don't have a card, and that caused everybody to panic and games to be weird and all kinds of crazy situations. That's probably the best part, is that we don't have this situation where, but Forza is exclusive for Xbox. They've already stated that some games will be exclusive for a certain amount of time, but I don't expect it to be everywhere. Also, they have PC. I don't know why people forget. Like PC, Microsoft can get away with some, unique plans because of PC too. So,
yeah.
I'm not even a Star Wars fan, but Andor was a phenomenal show. This is Ghostwire Ghoul. Andor was a phenomenal show. No Jedi, but it did have a Force user healer in season 2.
Yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of Star Wars games that have been amazing without Jedi. Dark Forces, Rogue Squadron, X-Wing, TIE Fighter.
But I'm always waiting for that Jedi or Sith to show up and fuck up my TIE Fighter. Like, if I'm doing well or something, I don't know why. I'm always waiting for I'm always waiting for, if I do too well in a game, I'm always like, they're here. They're watching. I guess that's just the overarching narrative of it all. But yeah, anyway, but long story short, I mean, Sony is definitely seeing the writing on the wall. We're now seeing multiple games from them coming to other systems. You're going to see that continually. Expect to see more announcements in the next 6 months for sure. And you're going to see it from Microsoft continually. So Nintendo, you're not going to see Mario on anything else other than mobile. Mobile. Let's see. Mario was on an Apple game, wasn't it? Didn't they make like a continual runner? One of those games where you're running all the time. That was a Mario.
They made a mobile
Apple
game of some sort, but I'm not sure whether it was Apple or.
I feel like it would have been Apple, because that's like your two friends who are too cool for school joining up together. Like, for some reason, I feel like they're at a party that they're not letting other people into, but Apple and Nintendo are both like, you want to sniff my farts
the
first?
Two like turtleneck wearers.
Buffet. Yeah, I definitely can see that. Andor's great. Okay, people like Andor. I gotta check that and see.
Yeah, I love that show as well.
Do you like Andor?
Yeah, very much.
One of these days, I gotta check it out, man. I just no issues with it. I just gotta check it out. I like the idea of non-Jedi being prominent at the very least. Because I think that can be an issue. I did want to point out a surprise hit, and that's Escape from Duckov. This is a duck-themed extraction shooter, which, by the way, just to point out, did better numbers than Arc Raiders. 300,000 peak concurrents over the weekend. Briefly topped the heavyweights.
Wow.
If I was a game maker, I'd be like, okay, man, we got our new post-apocalyptic sci-fi, prehistoric, fucking modern. We're mixing all this. We're doing an extraction shooter. We're going to spend a bunch. We're going to make it look the best, blah, blah, blah. And then Escape from Duckov comes up.
Yeah, it's like, fuck me, really? The duck game got triple the numbers we got? Come on, guys.
Okay, I apologize. I called it a game. Sean says that's not a game. So we apologize. Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, you're right. That's not a game. Escape from Duckov, which is an entertainment-themed, non-game shooter parody, cracked at 300,000. Thanks, Sean, for correcting everybody.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean. I'm just joking. He's probably a very nice guy, but that was stupid. Okay, moving on from there. What do we think about a particular discussion that I have, which is I love impacts on a game world. Outer Worlds 2, not spoiling anything. Outer Worlds 2 is you succeed in missions and you succeed in continuing further. Your ship gets items placed around it. Successful items, equipment, talismans, whatever you want to call it, but little decorations. When it comes to situations like that, this is going to sound like a 1 or a 0 and that you would immediately choose one, but there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Would you rather have the choice to place them yourself or not place them yourself and have them just pop up? Now, it probably sounds like, why wouldn't you choose to place it yourself? That requires a mini game and a system that we saw with Starfield didn't work great until they reworked the entire thing because placing was terrible. But also the idea of this, I don't love all of Outer Worlds enemy designs. Many of Outer Worlds enemy designs look like toads that had a horrible day. Right? Like they're animals, many of them. So when you put an animal head up in my spaceship that I like clean and sci-fi tech looking, it would be like my wife coming home with a leopard skin and throwing it on the floor.
Right.
And I'd be like, well, depends on what we're going to do on it. But after that, I'm rolling that bitch up. It is not going to be out here on my hardwood floor fucking up the feng shui of this apartment or this house, of this room. Do you guys like, first of all, does it matter to you that items that you can do that and that it adds a little hominess to something? Does it augment it and make it better for you guys? But also, what do you think about the placement of stuff? Like, is that important to you? Am I just completely out of my gourd and you killed something, so therefore you want it in there, even if it sort of fucks up your own internal idea? Either one of you guys can go first. It's just, it's bothering me a little bit because some of the stuff is, it's fucking ugly. I just don't like some of the designs. Do you guys
I
ever
think the
about this?
main difficulty I have is that the trophy needs to be reminiscent of something significant.
Okay.
And what I find very often is that I'm getting these trophies for stuff I've already forgotten. Like Dragon Age Veilguard had this problem where you would get these little trophies you could place in a room in different places, but they just didn't mean anything to me. You know, like, oh, I got this vase or vase, whatever the pronunciation there. You know, like, sure, I can place it here or there, but like, really, it's not adding anything. I think that's the main problem for me. Because if it was something that, like, oh, dude, that was the, you know, the ogre boss in Sekiro or something, and I got his head I can place somewhere, that would be cool. That would be cool to me, you know, place it above the toilet and just...
Like when you were in Witcher 3, when you're riding around with a decapitated griffin head or whatever.
Yes. Right, that was cool. That's a good example, actually. Because you carry it with you, too.
Yeah. I find it doesn't really matter to me all that much whether I can place it myself or not. Like in the instances where you have to place it yourself, I find it can often become a lot of busy work.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily feel all that rewarding. And then there are like... compromises that sort of fit somewhere in between, like in where you have like set pieces or set places where you can place stuff, and then you can sort of flick between what you want to place there. You have stuff like Mass Effect where you had your cabin where you had the fish and the different models of spaceships and whatnot that you could collect. Kind of cool, but you know, you weren't really too involved outside of like buying the stuff yourself to just put in there, and it got put there automatically. So really, it doesn't matter to me that much which one of the other or of the two it is, where it is on the spectrum. It's nice that it's there, but it's never something I feel that strongly about. It's just an added spice.
Do you know what I would like? Because if I look at AC Shadows, it's a game that handled it insanely terrible and insanely good at the same time. So you could do a bunch of stuff in that game, and you could, and then there was reasons to collect stuff because you could put it in there. But at the same time, they didn't really have a good templating system. So a lot of people's temples look like dog shit. Because let's be honest, man, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to set up a good-looking location in a game, and with the control schemes that are inherently usually terrible. And so they were like, hey, and by the way, there was a light ray tracing mode even on consoles that was in there because they wanted it to look really good. So they were taking it serious. But then you're placing stuff, and I was talking to Penty, who's placed, I mean, I think he's got everything in that game for his base building. He loves it. But even he was having difficulty sometimes placing the items discreetly where he wanted to. And it felt like it wasn't half-assed by any means, but it was like the fidelity is never there because no matter what, they know inherently that some people are like us where they're like, whatever, you know, like it's cool to have, but I don't know if I'll do it. And why do you spend a ton of time if you know that side thing really may not pay off whatsoever? I would like a templating system for a lot of these, or a glue system where you say, I like this temple and I like this item, randomize those. I'm going to hit A, and you're going to randomize the placement of both. And maybe I can template a couple of these things to make my base at least look functional. My base did not look functional because also it does the one thing that many of these side mission things do wrong and right. It doesn't give you everything right away. So inherently, your fucking temple looks like dog shit because you have the first 3 basic structures. And then as you get more structures, you spend hours going, okay, now I got to move this shit because I have like the dog shit looking house. But I also have now like 5 other houses, but the dog shit house is in the center because that's all I had was dog shit at the starting. So it's like, okay, you have your dog shit house. You have these amazing houses around it. And you're like, doesn't the ruler or the center house usually look the best? Not in my fucking temple area. Mine looked like crap because it was built around the idea that you get it, the crap first. And you can paint them and stuff like that, which is great. I think, you know, obviously that is a huge plus that they gave you the ability to decorate them.
That's also one thing that's honestly underwhelming about Bloodlines 2 is your hideout in that game doesn't change at all. It's a skanky apartment and it remains really, really awful throughout
no matter what.
Throughout the game. Like to the extent that there is a cat carcass in the kitchen that just stays there.
Checks out. That's gross. That's
like
disgusting.
you never bother to like remove it or anything. It's just lying there for like days just on end.
Ref brought up something too I want to talk about. He said, I'm struggling to care about the furniture you get in place in Power Wash 2. And I would agree. Yeah, first of all, you get they're gross. Like they're 1970s lava lamp looking crap that you get, and you have to clean them, which is fine.
Grandma's couch.
But they're grandma's couch. Yeah, there should be plastic over it because we all know grandma's in plastic. And instead, you put all these things down and you're like, dude, this looks terrifying, man. It looks terrible. But they're also great. I mean, they matter more than a damn ass stupid achievement that's useless. I mean, at least you get something from doing something in the game, which I do love. It's not just like mentally masturbation, but at the same time, it feels like it must be hard for a developer to decide how much are we going to put into it, because it's going to be quite difficult for us to figure out how much time we put into this system. But yeah,
I love the idea of the templates, man. Because
that'd be great.
Oh, that grinds my gears. You know, in Starfield, all these games where I don't need. Look, some people will want to dial in the living space to the millimeter, right? They're modders. They want the poker cards specifically in the position and like interacting in a specific way, yada yada. But dude, like the average Joe playing the game, they picked up some cool shit on the road and they want it to look like it's not phasing in and out on the desk and like on the floor all of a sudden, you know, like broken. I love that idea of like, hey, I got like this shit. Can you sort of distribute it?
Starfield would have Starfield, any space game, because Starfield's not the only one. X4 has the same issue. These games, man, if I was in Starfield and I bought 5 ships, let me take those items, tell you the tonnage of the fucking ship, and hit the A button, and it randomizes it. We do it already with characters. Let me randomize it. Let me pick an area and say, I want to randomize the ass into this ship, so you're going to randomize the thrusters. Boom, boom. Now, you can. There are ways to basically do that somewhat in Starfield, but obviously I'm not talking about the basic stuff. I'm talking about more when you start getting a bunch of items. Let me just say, go. And put it together with the accuracy that the goddamn system won't say you can't land this ship. Because that happened to me in the first couple hours of almost any spaceship game. You inevitably get a red text. And then Starfield was even worse. The red text you had to test it. Now, I think that was probably an indicator of the NASA-like idea of testing the ship. And I know some people really actually like that. They like to visually see if they were designing. I get it. But at the same time, is the couple people who like that going to be offset by an even wider number of people who would have really loved to jump in and say, let's randomize this template? For example, many people don't go and buy a Maserati and then tear it up and build a fucking different one before they buy it. That would be goddamn ridiculous. You go and you design, you look at one of the models and you say, I bought a Genesis. I look at the Genesis and I'm like, I like this model. I'll put my trim on it. Sure. But I'm not going to fucking tear it apart and put mutters on it. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
what kind of idiot does that? You don't do it. And you don't do it with everything. You might have one or two things that do that. There's a truck coming out where you can sort of do that, but it still has the same body. Give me the body of it. Let me adjust the other stuff. And then if somebody wants to get in there and really tear it up, they can do that too. The other thing is the inside of spaceships is notoriously an issue in every game. And it's an issue in No Man's Sky. This is not a Starfield thing. It's an issue in X4. It's an issue in so many where you do get debris or you get insides that don't look great. Each game seems to have its own idiosyncrasy. But in Starfield, give me a button that says place shit and glue that bitch into place so that if my dumbass character, who's now tap dancing on the fucking table because of a pathing issue, they don't knock it around, right? They lock it into place so that shit's not jiggling. Now, admittedly, I wouldn't always use that because I don't know about you, but I love just opening my back cargo door and throwing loose rocks in there and then shutting it. And you would hear that shit in the back. Just, and I would have like 6 tons of stuff in the back of a random room, not in any containers or anything. So I would break the rule right there. But yeah, it's weird. Nor Imposter sent one of the best ACG Gaming Podcast memberships to somebody else. I think he gave it to somebody who already had it, but definitely appreciate it. Sometimes I'm in the mood and have time for RPGs. Sometimes I don't. I wish devs would stop doing hybrids. See, I sort of like hybrids, but I also don't like them. I don't know. Just depends on the game, right? Can't win, right?
Yeah.
Can't win, no matter what.
I don't think we should be too tied to genre conventions. I think they can be useful, but yeah.
Dylan says there was some mods. I think he meant to say there were some mods for Fallout 4. Settlements had collections of items grouped together in a placeable decoration like how you guys are describing. See, that's what, yeah, it's a mod.
Yes.
Love the idea. It's probably on the Creation Club, and Starfield may have one, by the way. I might be talking out my ass that Starfield doesn't have one. I'm, of course, not meaning mods. If they do, that's exactly what should happen. I just feel that it would be great if the game had
the
it
option.
naturally. Yeah.
Because realistically, only a small percentage of people really need the granularity of like this one bottle. Like, bro, let me just place the fork in a way that it's not like clipping into stuff and broken,
Yeah. Yeah. It's asking a lot. I get it. But yeah, I wanted to bring it up because it had popped into the thing. Can you grab the Discord questions real quick, Johnny?
Yeah.
I do have a question here. Con Artist says, you said Nintendo had a rough week. What's the most fixable misstep versus a deeper long-term concern? Nintendo's their own worst enemy. So the long-term concern of Nintendo is that for a company doing quite well and their stuff in their games not really requiring patents or anything like that, they continue to patent ride. So the long-term concern is they'll continue to do it. Nor Sec 20, this podcast is the best community. That is true. That is, I will give you that. That is for sure true.
Thank you, man.
What do we got for questions?
This one from Always Be Cookin'. What would be your gaming-related Halloween costume of choice?
Fuck, that's a good question.
Yasuke's so
armor.
easy, man.
Yasuke's armor and shadows, man. I'd love to have some samurai armor. Fuck. What's yours, Johnny?
Well, mine is just Hitman. I just get a barcode.
Yeah, true.
And I'm rocking.
That is true. What about you, Silver?
Maybe Garrett.
Ooh, Garrett would be dude. Yeah, that'd be a good one. And everybody'd be like, which one of the 50,000 thieves / rangers right? Yeah. They'd be like, which one are you, Garrett? And then be like, okay. You'd have to do some what do you call some training on getting that voice right because he's got such a primo voice. That would be awesome. That would be great. What else we got, Johnny? Stellar Blade costume. Yeah, Stellar Blade. I
could just play sound clips from the games.
Yeah, just have it like here, so it sounds like it's like in one of those little neck speakers. Go ahead. Sorry, Johnny. What were you saying?
This one from Bowser. If you could pick the music from a game or movie to make your favorite game movie better, what would it be?
We could pick our favorite what?
Poach. Pick music from a game or movie to make your favorite game or movie better.
Oh, okay. So maybe.
So it is poaching, right? You'd like.
Yeah, it's maybe a game
Nab.
that didn't have the best, or you think it would elevate a game. Boy, that's hard. I don't know if I even.
Because it would need to fit really well.
I could say any music and Power Wash because it doesn't have much, and I missed it. I missed sort of the vibe.
That was oddly missing.
It was oddly there. There's some there, but like it was oddly, it needed a sonic envelope that was like cool to just listen to on the side. That really bothered me.
To me, okay, I think I have a combo. The Yellowstone show
soundtrack,
OST soundtrack, which is like a lot of it is guitar based. You know, it's like really chill, an ambiance type thing. With Power Wash, I think could have worked really well because you're power washing, you're just sort of zoning out with the
free going,
droning guitars.
That would work. What any from you, Silver? It's a hard question, man. That's like a.
I mean, not really my favorite game per se, but I'm currently playing Master of Command. There are a lot of like classical compositions in that game. But the one I'm really missing that isn't there is Handel's Sawbond.
And it's not in the game, and it feels like it should
be. Yeah, I mean, very heavily featured in Kubrick's Barry Lyndon film. That's almost the main theme of that film, and it's just very, very evocative of that period.
Trying to think if that's such a hard question because like a lot of times the music I may not jive with it, but I understand where they were coming from, you know. And then if you do replace it, you're like, well, that's sort of who knows if the new music would work even. I'm not going to change my answer. That's my answer. What else you got, Johnny?
This one from Norsk Imposter. What games, with games getting longer and longer and there being more choice than ever, so people dip in and out of games, how do you see games trying to recap the players on the story so far in games? I like how Dying Light did it while loading up, for example.
All I care about, I like NPC barks. I think your best way of doing it is world barks. You have the NPCs say stuff as you walk around, continually reinforce it, continually change. I think that's my favorite way of doing it. I don't mind the last time on Alan Wake. I love those. Love them. But you'll never get all of it unless you want to go for 45 fucking minutes, right? But the idea of barks, NPC barks are my favorite thing in the world, man, when they're done well. Because like when you're running around and a character says, did you guys hear about that other planet got destroyed? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm going to go check out some more information. You're like, oh, I know what that is. That was from the game prior. Or that's what I did, and I made that change. I fucking adore that. I just think it's fantastic. And it gives the NPC a reason to be there other than to stand there. And you wonder 6 days into your adventure, when does the dude shower? When does he go home? Does he pee? Does he shit? Does he do anything? It's why Assassin's Creed games give him all the shit you want. I like the scheduling. I do like the characters move around. They don't at night. You know, you still get the guy standing there at a store at 3 a.m. and you're like, okay, he didn't get replaced. What was the game, guys? Do you guys remember the game that when you went to bed, if you went out exploring at night, all the vendors were replaced by machines? The vendor was gone, but the machine was there, and you could still integrate with. You could still use the machine to do all the stuff you needed, but the person was. It's not Starfield, is it? There's a game. I know there's a game because we covered it. There's a game where
that rings a bell.
Yeah, you go to at night. If you go out at night, the character is gone. They have a schedule, and the kiosk still works. And there's sometimes, dude, I feel like.
Yeah.
What the fuck game is that? Okay, chat.
Now's your time.
Now's your time to shine. What game is that, man?
Dude, another good one was the fireside chats in Chronicles.
They were very good.
What was the name? Chronicles 3.
Yeah. Are you talking about Xenoblade?
Xeno, thank you. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. They had a great fireside chat where you would talk about stuff that happened. It was a good recap. It was also like them processing what happened.
Yep.
It felt really natural.
Expedition 33 sort of did a good job. They did a good job and a bad job at the same time. You had that fucking button thing that came up and you were like, what is going on? But there were also some really good times at their campfires. I like the campfire shit, man. I love
Campfire
that.
shit's
Campfire shit's
solid.
good. Campfire shit sounds really aggressively weird.
Yeah.
But you ever had that camp? So listen, okay, small tangent.
Oh, damn. Okay, let's
Small
go.
tangent. But I was thinking about this a couple days ago. How much bodily damage I may have done to myself while camping when it was super cold and I refused to get out of bed to go piss or shit because I was sick. You'd stayed up all night eating like you did at home when you had a toilet at home, and then you wake up. And by the way, anybody who tells you you can just pee anywhere outside, okay, listen, I don't think you've camped then, because not only is there the idea of you don't want to piss right over the top of your friend's head, you got to go out into the bushes. If there's no trails and you're truly camping, you're now cutting branches to try to get somewhere to piss. And it's 3 degrees. And by the way, there should be some scientific study in how a sleeping bag can fucking go from 60 degrees warm to 0 in 1 second. You get out, you piss, you leap back in, and the fucking sleeping bag's frozen at a diagonal angle. And you're like, God damn it. It's so, I would sit there and be in and out of sleep because I had to pee so bad that like things were mechanically, it felt like they were failing. And I was still like, no, man, no. Because you
No, we're
out,
testing the limits of this shit.
you breathe out, and if you're on your back, like it misses up and hits your face because it's frozen or whatever. And you're like, yeah, no, it's not going to happen, man. I mean, I guess you could pee in. Do you know how cold it would be if I just realized? Yeah, I almost said pee inside your sleeping bag, but holy shit, would that be a disaster in less than 7 seconds?
Oh, dude.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It would be a very temporary relief.
It would be temporary.
Yeah.
You know, the shiver, you'd be like, and you'd just be frozen in place, and you'd have like some underwear of urine frozen around your waist. It would be terrible.
One of those ideas you think they're great in the moment and then instantly regret.
Have you guys ever done that, man? I've done that, definitely. Not a ton of times, but those times where your brain, you ran through everything. You're like, this is a good idea. I've run through everything. Just checks
Let's
out.
run with it.
Yeah,
Checks out.
just
Yeah.
checks out.
Yeah.
All the seals are checked out. This shuttle is taken off without any problems. And you missed one of the biggest variables. And afterwards, hindsight being 2020, you look back and go, damn, how the fuck?
Yeah.
Carrick's talking about sleeping bags from the 70s. No, I'm literally talking about a sleeping bag from 2 weeks ago. Unless you don't camp in cold places.
I mean, the worst is if you had to go number 2, dude, during the, like,
I mean,
that's just, you might die.
You may die. Yeah, you may die. It may just be. I was watching the guy, one of the extreme campers. He camps like out, like up where Necro lives, like in the places where they just say, "Here there be monsters," and they don't even tell you where the fuck it is. GPS is too cold. It's like, we don't know. You're over here somewhere, but the lasers aren't working. So fuck it. You're in the woods is all it says. And he was talking about this too, and he was showing how quickly his $1,000 sleeping bag lost temperature. Even though, I mean, one time he stopped in the middle of the camp. He got up to pee and he tried to eat, and the water had been cooking for a while, still hadn't boiled. It was so cold. He's like, fuck it, I'm going home. Like, this is ridiculous. I always like it when a master at that looks at the situation and shows mastery by giving up. Because there are times where environmentally, because the world will kick the shit out of you, right? The world doesn't care. It's like, dude, you're not a master. You're quite good in your little element. Well, I'm going to fuck up your element right now. And you're like, all right, maybe I should go home. It was cool to see him just be like, yeah, I'm calling it, man. Like, this is ridiculous. And then try to figure out a way home, which, would suck. What else do we got?
Find a sauna.
Yeah, find a sauna. Make a sauna when you're out in the woods. What else we got?
Let's see. Bowser says, you've mentioned quite regularly that we have lots of good games coming out regularly. With free games also becoming better and offering more too, it feels like what should be an absolute positive for the industry kind of isn't when you see more layoffs and companies disappearing. What do you think would be a net positive in the industry as a whole? What do you think would be a net positive in the industry?
Growth, right? Because that's what we don't have, and that's what the issue is we have more games than people available to play them in a weird way. That's not true, but you guys get my drift. We're not really set, like console gaming isn't growing. There's some PC growth, but it's definitely not equal to the amount of games and the ease in which games can be created that are still good, the shorter time periods. Delays would be better, but there's no financing for delays right now. There's like we've hit the deep shit time frame where there isn't the money to delay, and it's the one time really in all of gaming for the last 10 or 15 years when that would be the best spending of your cash, would be to I guess you would call it rockstar it, where the game is somewhat done but you spend a year or two polishing it, versus what we've heard with BioWare, where we're going to wait till the last 6 months, BioWare magic, right? Which luckily some developers who had worked at BioWare were like, that's not a thing. We tried, and you could call it a thing, but it's more luck. Yeah, I would say growth. I mean, I don't know, and delays, but there's just no money.
Sustainable growth, though, right? Because we saw
it's got to be, yeah.
We saw what happened with the growth of COVID, right? Where
you're absolutely right.
Was
yeah, and it cratered.
Unsustainable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know about you, Silver. I'm the opposite. Well, I don't think I'm the opposite, but I think we've talked about this. If I don't have a lot of money, I'll spend it. And if I have a lot of money, I start to save it. If I have a lot of like luck, I save the luck for later times when I won't have it.
Right.
So if I was a COVID developer, I would have been like, whoa, instead of growing the company a shit ton, because don't we all understand this is going to end? I feel like
yeah,
normal people were like, dude, that's not going to last forever. So maybe what you do is you're doing well. You got more people playing your game. You coffer some of that so that you can get through the lean years, which you know are going to happen. Also, it's going to be the inverse. You're not just going to have it go to zero. Inherently, humans have a tendency to want to experience the unique, which would be they're not just going to stop playing games as much or go to normal amounts of playing games. There's a very high chance they're going to want to experience, real life, and it'll go down below the status quo for a bit, which is sort of normal. So you would look at, say, we had 100,000 concurrent players all the time. Then we went to 200,000. Prepare for 50,000. Prepare for a lower number, because you're also going to have other companies coming in and people are going to be returning at different speeds.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. I would love to see it do really well. Anthony says Dumb and Dumber scooter scene piss froze two dudes together. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Have a good one, SBZ. Yeah, and thanks everybody for I saw a lot of people join in the Substack. I don't want to say how much I appreciate that. That's a fun thing to do. It's a little side thing of mine, and it's been enjoyable. Yeah, that's it, right? There's really nothing else.
Yeah, because that dynamic you're mentioning is also just the way a lot of businesses are operating, which is, whatever money we have, we're also like reinvesting it aggressively because we want to grow as much as we can.
Or you pay it out to the super shareholders.
Yeah. And instead, some of that should be like, unless they're a nonprofit, which you're not supposed to do that, it should be saved and prepped for continuation of what business during lean time. So you have a nest egg there of, I don't know if you guys saw this, but a couple of the prior devs prior to COVID, we're talking about they have enough financial space for 1 or 2 failures. This was years ago, by the way, not anymore. This was years and years ago. And it feels to me like there isn't only not enough space for a single failure, there is not enough space for a okay success right now for a lot of companies. Meaning, do you see what I'm saying? That's harsh. That is, I mean, that's rough, man. That's like, it's gaming, it's software development. It's not just gaming, but it's definitely gaming was the big monkey for the longest period of time. It was, it was like, in a way, it was King Kong for a long time. And COVID in the form of biplane shot it off the Empire State Building, and the monkey is down right now. Like we're hoping that we can resuscitate it, but yeah. What else do you got there, Johnny?
This one from Contanker Art. With EA Private now, what do you think will happen to their non-sports games? I've never really cared about their sports offerings, but I've really enjoyed the Respawn Star Wars games, so hoping those continue. I'm excited for Star Wars Zero Company from former XCOM devs. Will this be canceled? Anyone else looking forward to that title? Cheers.
Shit, that's a good question, man. What do you guys think? Silver, I don't think you and I have talked about this. I think I know your response. I could not. But what do you think about the EA purchase as a whole? And what do you think, like, let's say those indie games? EA actually does do quite well for some indies, which everybody seems to forget in their hatred form, which I sort of understand. But what do you think happens with those? Do you expect them to go away and that company, whatever form it's in now, to not do those anymore? Not like...
I probably expect them to become more risk averse. Yeah, for sure. I'm not a fan of the purchase. I'm not a fan of like consolidation, media consolidation to that extent. Yeah.
Do you guys know, was there a reason for the consolidation? What I mean by that is a reason, not, we can talk about money because obviously everybody wants to make money, such is life. I'm talking about, was there a reason given from them that indicated that, like, why that, were they shopping actively because there was a problem? Or was it just like, hey, you know, we found out there's a way to make some more cash? Does anybody know? Because I don't really remember EA having any financial issues, but I
think
also...
it was just another investment for the investors who are putting the money out. It was just another investment.
Yeah, that growing out.
Impression. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my answer would be the same as his. That probably...
I saw that thing...
It won't continue.
I saw that thing about Microsoft apparently requiring a 30%
oh my God,
profitability. Yeah. Did you see that pop up?
Yeah.
So that was leaked. And that's an insane figure, right? To look for a 30% profitability.
It's not even insane. It's so far beyond insane. And a lot of people are basically saying, especially when you look at her and the choices she's had in the last couple of years, they've been ridiculous. And obviously they put her in charge over the top. You know, they decided this person needs to be there to move financially forward. But it's obviously put a huge hamper in, you know, further game development and where you put it. And a 30% profitability when all the numbers indicate that 22% is considered phenomenally high.
Yeah.
My assumption is also there's a possibility that she won't be there forever too. I mean, these companies come and, you know, I
think so.
These things come and go. But dude, 30% is fuck, man, because that's high. Like, I don't even know. I mean, weirdly enough, obviously, I'm just going to do some numbers. It's closer to 50% than it is 0. The only reason I even say that is because it's 30%. Like, it's only a little bit more before you would say 50% profitability. Like, what the fuck? That's ridiculous. And
when some of the competitors, we know they're under 10%. You know, like some
or negative. They'll be negative for years if they have coffers, which most do. But yeah. Dude, 30% is...
And I wonder, like, with EA, if it's like they are now subject to that too. And then some of the...
So Microsoft's is real. That's like a line drawn in the sand. Like, there's no getting at that one is for sure. And it's written down. Like, that one, they're fucked if they don't. We already know that. That's already been... We've already seen the repercussions of that. Repercussions in the term of 10K plus, you know, 1,000 people. Like, that's real. With EA, we won't know until it happens. But like so Silver said, there's a high chance they won't want to do other stuff than, like, let's say sports. But sports also costs some IP money, which is huge amounts of going out money. And there are the chances of Duckverse or whatever that game is doing 300,000. So do you have possibility that somebody internally is like, and looking and going, okay, we know the output of an NFL game. It's your licenses. It's all the shit. It's all, every single player has a license now. You have to pay them for everything or pay the NFL who pays them, whatever the setup is. Or do we spend a little bit of money and see if we can get a Duckverse that is like, but risk adverse still goes into chancy stuff, meaning
Sure.
Duckverse would be a copy paste. That would be a 10-cent style thing because it would be like, hey, if Duckverse worked, what about Mooseverse? Well, we don't want that either, right? Can you imagine that? The next 7. And by the way, I am not in any way, shape, or form saying that won't happen. I actually believe somebody's going to see that Duck game and go, maybe what about
we can do that with crabs.
What about platypus? Crabs, llama. Yeah. You know, you find a popular animal that's big on network TV. Like, remember when Meerkat Manor was huge? What about meerkats? And by the way, that would sound like a smart idea 1 year into it. 3 years later, when that's been canceled and been replaced by, like, you know, Duck Dynasty and the Three Stooges or whatever the fuck it is, then you're looking at it not being super intelligent because you passed the hype bar. It's already gone. But yeah,
almost the entire airing schedule of Animal Planet at one point, wasn't it? Like Meerkat Manor.
Meerkat, yeah, dude. Now, admittedly, as somebody who likes meerkats, I would have been okay with a meerkat TV channel where it's just all meerkat. I fucking love those. I love Platypus. If you said Platypus Planet, the TV show, I would be watching that. I love certain animals that like that. I would watch the shit out of it. If you said Penguin Planet, I'd be like, fuck that, man. I don't like penguins. They taste like shit and they're stupid. But meerkats, they're sort of like little tiny, slightly dumb humans, and that like have their family units. And well, yeah, I dig it.
That's how they make it look on the show.
That is true too, because that show got outed. That show got outed for a lot of like hedgy. It was a little bit like, what's that guy who always pretended he was sleeping out in the woods and they caught him in the hotel?
Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls. Yeah, a lot of pretending going on those, which is fine too, because you are. I
mean that's how it is for most like wildlife documentaries.
Yeah, for sure.
It is a show.
Yeah,
after all.
And
also because they have to construct like a narrative for it to actually work.
And if they were like, you can't help the animals, I'd be like, well, fuck you, you hired the wrong person. Because I'd be out there freezing to death, saving animals 24/7 if I was in like a documentary. You know, with their recording, they're like, these penguins on the edge of the ice shelf. Will they go over? Why is there a fence at the edge of the ice shelf? And that'd be me pounding the fence in.
Have you seen one of my favorite documentary scenes ever is from a Herzog film, his film on penguins, when he talked about the penguin walking off into like the lonely insane penguin walking off
one
into
lonely penguin.
The Arctic.
But I don't want to brush over the fact that you ate penguin.
No. Jesus Christ. No, I didn't eat them.
Okay. There
have been people who were starving to death, people who like have tested it.
Okay.
And it's like seagull, where they're a particular type of animal meat and they taste horrendous. And it's just not a thing that you almost... Sometimes you'll hear, you and I, or you and Silver and I, we'll talk about, there's a video where somebody's eating snake, and you'll be like, ugh. But then you talk to them, and they're like, actually, if you cook it this way, blah, blah, blah. From what I understand about penguin and seagull is you can cook that thing deep fried, and if you can deep fry something and it doesn't taste better, it's inedible. Sorry, that shouldn't be eaten.
Wow.
Whatever it is poison or something. Like the earth is saying, don't eat that over there.
It's evolved to just
only great white, or what is the not great whites, orca, like orca eat them, that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, they taste like dog shit. Yeah, they taste horrible.
But one interesting thing in what you were saying is that the investment strategy might not be just let's put the money on the guaranteed ROI stuff, which is FIFA, well, not FIFA, now it's called EA. FC. Some amount of money makes sense to devote to the average, duck. What was it called? Duckopia,
or not Ducktopia. Duck. Escape from Duckov, I think is what.
Right, because you never know, like which one might hit really high.
Never know,
and it's you could allocate a small amount of your investment to that, and then you have the upside of maybe one shooting up, And actually, Rory Sutherland, the guy we talk
Yeah,
about a lot,
he's awesome
he
at that.
speaks a lot about this, like I think the fat tail, he calls it,
Yep.
where like one thing, where like, you know, in a chess, a win gives you 1 point, but in, I think it's baseball or whatever, you can score hundreds of points, or it's maybe football.
Yep.
Like you can go super high, right? And it's that idea that one thing can give you a oversized return. And I think that they do think about that. You know, the companies,
and
they're not just
also long-term IPs,
looking.
Johnny, cost more to continue to progress because the expectation is higher. There is no expectation for a new IP, really. There isn't, because it's a new IP, which means it's a whole new thing. The expectation is low. It's not, because it's not a thing. But if you're doing NFL, you got to have a better stadium. You got to, you know, and by the way, they haven't met that. I'm saying that is the expectation.
Yeah.
You're still spending money to reach the status quo. So you're either copy pasting, blah, blah, blah. But then now the stars want money. Now, sorry, not the stars, but the players want money, and probably rightfully so. So, you know, you get all those kind of weird things. I would say if I was somewhere there investing, I like the idea of, I guess you would just call it, and Rory talked about this too, but just the idea that makes no sense at all, because sometimes what doesn't make sense, it'll make sense after it's done. Like after it's done. And we've heard this, by the way, from a ton of different other sciences and other things that are outside of gaming, books, whatever. For example, House of Leaves, the book House of Leaves, which is the nonsensical at first book. And let's be honest, if you told a novel reader, you know, oh, it's not a choose your own adventure. There's no choosing. It's just everywhere. And you're putting it, it's like a puzzle that never gets put together. You imagine the connections between the pages on your own. And it's just almost a blathering of data. And it happened to work. But if you tried to explain that to somebody, the author had to basically just say, it'll make sense when it's done.
Just
even
trust
though,
me on this one.
Even though it doesn't make sense in itself, it makes sense as an idea, doing something so dramatically different that now when you talk to anybody about reading books, it used to be huge. I would hear it all the time. Hey, Carrick, I know you like to read books. Have you checked out House? And I'd be like, yes, I have. Because it was such a difference engine that my own mother, who loves procedural crime books, Caldwell, I think is her name, who's written like 60,552 books, right? Like she's written, like it doesn't even make sense. Like she's probably printed way more than the Bible. And her stuff is 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you got to figure this out. The detective does this. And my mom was like, House of Leaves is amazing, which I would have just never assumed in a million years my mom would have read a nonsensical fucking book.
Yeah.
Where every page is not in line with every other page. So, yeah. Rory's smart on this kind of stuff. We talk about him endlessly, and I know people get tired of it. But when it comes to understanding how the future of business goes, I think people who understand it's the same thing in games, lie a little to tell a lot. His ideas are change a little, and you may be surprised. And by the way, this happens in some of the biggest industries. For example, there are people who consistently say kickers in the NFL should make barely any money. And yet, the number of times the kicker wins the game is astronomically high. It's just that they do nothing else. They do nothing else. They are a screwdriver with a very particular head. But here's the problem. If you need to use that screwdriver, none of the other fucking screwdrivers work. They don't even work. They don't even fit. So, of course, it makes sense to pay. And then you start getting talent and you start looking and going, okay, we do have to pay them because they have to be commensurate with everybody else. And in business and games, I would love to see more people, because people say indies are risk. They like risk. No, they don't. I mean, every indie I talk to, they're like, no, we just look at like openings and we try to do some of that stuff, but they're not as crazy, like unique as people sort of like to pretend they are. There's just more of them. There's more people that are at that monetary amount. I would like to see a big company. Microsoft gets shit for this, but I'm going to give them a kudo. Keeper. If there's any game that doesn't make sense to release, it's Keeper. I mean, if anybody's played Keeper, you're like, I know Nor was playing it. You're just all,
how did this pass the pitch?
And it's awesome for the people who like Keeper. It's not going to save the world, but it is an example of that. Sometimes some companies are looking at these games going, you know what? Or what's the one game, Silver, that you and I liked? Well, you liked it way more than me. I think it just wasn't for me, but I definitely appreciated it. Was Sawyer from Obsidian. Pentiment.
A Pentiment, yeah.
Dude, come on. How often is a Pentiment going to be made, even by an indie dev, let alone, because there's not even that many indie devs who would be like, yeah, I'm going to make this. That was like a AA dev who was all, yeah, you know what? We want to keep you around. You want to make Pentiment? Let's see how it goes. It's a weird ass game, but it got made. So hopefully we get more of those. Good question. Damn. What else we got for questions?
Last one is this one from Max. I've seen changes in headphones that all of you have. Johnny had a Sony XM6 recently, I think. What headphones in general do you guys look for in buying? Open back, closed back, gaming headphones, etc. What are the qualities you look for in getting headphones? Do ANC matter or wired is important in choosing one? Thank you.
That's a good question. Johnny and, well, first of all, let's go to Silver, because I noticed Silver's got his little fucking lights and shit on the side of his that are like pulsing when he's talking. I want to hear what he's got. Then you go with whatever you and whatever you decide.
Series.
How do you decide? And then go to Johnny. I'm going to grab my new pair I just got that I'm quite happy with.
Wired is pretty important to me, just because I don't want to deal with charging them or anything. So I'm fine with just running a wired set. And then sound quality, 3D positional audio, stuff like that. How that is conveyed. I found the Steel series works really well for that. For me, so that's basically been the series I've stuck with.
You using the Steel Series app too, Silver, or box? Or no, okay.
Actually not. No.
And you've had those for how long?
I think pretty much. No, not. I think it was a couple of years into the podcast, so probably 7 years now.
Same headphones?
Not exactly the same, but like Steel Series, yeah.
Gotcha. Because I was going to say
I was running Creative Fatality before that.
Yeah, I think I actually remember those. What about you, Johnny?
So for me, comfort is really important because I actually get like a lot of pressure on the ears depending on the headset. So I got these really big ones that I like to use sometimes. They are like semi-open back, pretty much like open back, but they feel good. They're comfortable. I also have Steel Series, the wireless ones that come with the little box where you can plug in stuff, so I could hear my mic if I wanted to, or my general mix, stuff like that. These are great because they come with 2 batteries and you can hot swap. So one is always charging. When it gets low, boom, pop it out and you're back to operating. And they sound great for general gaming and comfort. These are pretty great too when you want closed back, maybe a bit more immersion. That's about it. The Sonys, I use them for like mobile when I'm on the go because they have ANC. So the noise canceling for me mostly is when I'm kind of moving around and stuff like that.
Mine are, I've got a little bit of everything. I have Creative. I have like Sens. I have a bunch. But the new ones I got recently were AKGs. And these are semi-open back. They have a plug in the center, so that part doesn't go out, and they've got vent holes on all around them so that you can still hear stuff, so they still have the general, I guess you would consider it to be open envelope that you might assume, but they still have bass because the bass speaker is behind the plug, so there's still a bounce from the bass, which is a big bonus from full open. Full open suck balls. It doesn't matter what tech they try, you're not defeating the sound. The way a sound wave works, you're not defeating science. You'll always have an issue with low and bass on those. So I got these and insanely happy with their comfort. And I'm not really a big fan of open versus closed. I don't really I don't need to hear the world and pretend that that's wide, which yes, I'm going to call it pretending because the speaker is still right by your ear. And now if the speaker was over there on my wall, that's fucking wide. But currently doesn't matter. It's right here, so the fakery of being open is great, whatever. But I will say this, the biggest adjustment, I like wireless. The ones I'm wearing, 300 hours, They are legit 300 hours. I would say most of our Discord now has them because it's ridiculous how long they last. They do last that long. These are currently from weeks of running. They just alerted me about an hour ago that they're at 60%. But the other thing I started buying are these. It's called One Me. What they are is Bluetooth 0.4, and they power your headset. They got a LiPo battery in them, so you can take any wired headset and make it wireless instantly. You can choose your wire length. So I bought 3 of these. Void happened to get them same day. Weirdly enough, I was talking about them in chat. I was like, man, I got these. They're the greatest thing ever. They have an extremely long throw for their distance, but they can turn any wired headset into a wireless headset. Now, if you wanted to get 600 ohm, some crazy ass 15-inch woofer and paste it to your fucking noggin, is it going to run that very long? No. Better to run, over 100 ohm headsets for a while. These are, I think, are 32, and it runs them a great deal of time. It does 2 headsets too, which is cool. So if you want to listen with a spouse or whatever, you can actually have 2 wired devices plugged into the same. It's got a button there. But these are masterclass, man. Like, knowing that they exist was crazy to me because I love the idea of taking a wired set and being wireless if I like the sound. Also, I will tell you this, no matter what headset you get, if you're unhappy with the sound, you don't need to use a box. You don't need to use anything else. Go download FX Sound. It's free. It's what almost every handheld company suggests at some point for improving handheld sound for your Legions or whatever. FX Sound is simply an equalizer placed on top of Windows. So it's an app, but it opens up. It's very easy. It's free. It allows for you to make your own profiles. It's insanely fast, and you can have it start on load up. And it will actually handle different audio devices. So if you have 10 audio devices, you can literally just have it. It'll just take your whatever equalizer and move it to the new one. Instead of some apps will get confused when you switch device. It'll be like, I'm turning off. You're like, well, I didn't want you to turn off. It also has a loudness increaser, which isn't the same thing as one that just flatly increases all the audio. It smartly looks at your equalizer, raises the volume, but keeps the equalizer settings as where they are. So you won't get a shit ton of bass. It won't crush that sound. But FX Sound is fantastic for somebody who's bouncing around like me and using different headsets or using a headset that isn't super loud and I want it louder. FX Sound lets you do that. And again, free. So I would say do that. The other thing is Ear Trumpet, which is software. It's free. Ear Trumpet takes over for the sound settings in Windows and lets you, just by using the taskbar, adjust to up to 100 devices. I think I have 16 audio devices. And you just right click, switch to a different audio device, split the audio so it goes to 3 different devices at the same time. You can do it all through Ear Trumpet. That's also free. When it comes to choice, though, Johnny's right. Comfort. Your comfort is a stamina bar. It is Dark Souls. It's just like VR. You put on a headset
it's like
and you
chipping away.
It's chipping away at all times. It never goes up. Nobody puts a fucking headset on and goes, wow, I'm going to wear this forever because it's more comfortable than being naked. It's not happening. So the idea that comfort matters, who cares if the battery life is 300? If these were uncomfortable, it would fucking not matter because I wouldn't want to wear them. Yeah. And I've got headsets that sound great and they're uncomfortable as shit and you don't want to wear them or their audio is weird. That's why I suggest everybody download, like I said, FX Studio or whatever. It's the only one I've seen that works great, but an equalizer to adjust some of the sound too. You can use them, but the boxes, almost everybody I know who gets a headset with a goddamn DAC in it becomes unhappy at some point. Whether it's because the DAC has its own settings and things get mixed up because it's external, what have you. Put one on your device and you can make shitty Bluetooth speakers that you might just be using on the side sound a little bit better. And by the way, you can do that. Like you can do some crazy stuff with a little bit of EQ. There's a reason why they exist in the first fucking place. So yeah, comfort. Definitely. And then cost, right? Don't overspend on headsets, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that's ridiculous. You and I talked about this last week, didn't we? About the study where they got the reviewers and they didn't show them the headsets. They didn't show them the name of the headsets and they reviewed them and they all reviewed the much lower cost headset as sounding the best than the expensive ones.
There you go.
Because they didn't know the name.
I've told you how they do the same for guitars, right?
And all the time. For guitars, for TVs. Like it happens all the time. It's I don't understand why knowing the name is not as important. Somebody will be like,
Well, for some
banks.
people, it's the most important thing.
Yeah, well, I guess those are people they for sure, their opinion matters to them, and it should matter to nobody else. I don't give a fuck if it matters to them. I think that's really weird in anything, that because they like it, I'm going to like it. Like, they can give their reasons, same way as me as a reviewer, but just because I like it and just because you think you overlap with me, it doesn't mean we're going to agree. And if I like it just because it's a Sony game, you should stop watching me. That's not a review of Sony. Or, sorry, that's not a review of the game. That's a review of Sony. Like, if I was sitting here going, I like all Nintendo games, unsubscribe ASAP, because whatever's going on there is a broken situation. Like, that would be fucking weird if you were just like, I guess the only thing I could say that might make sense would be what you hate, because like I know Silver hates Samsung, but it's not necessarily because of the parts, it's because of the company, right? Mostly, at least. And mostly why I like them is because of the parts I've got and the items I've got, but I also dislike them for their suicide rates and shit. Good question. Anything else?
I mean, I found as well that different form factors really help. If you, and sometimes like low tech can be great. Like, these are just HyperX. They're quite cheap. They're just in-ears. And sometimes if I don't want the pressure of a headset, if I'm just chatting with you guys, it's like, boom, in-ears, I don't have the pressure going on. It's quite nice to switch to. Like, I also have those that kind of hook around your ear for workouts and stuff like that. Those are great. Speakers, if you can have a set of speakers too, sometimes to switch to, really helps, right? To have the
absolutely helps.
The
also, I have the open ones, the clip-on that pipe in your ear.
Yeah.
These are the most comfortable goddamn. Would I listen to them all the time? Of course not, because they're gonna have a different resonance. But for what you said, quick in and out, talking to you guys in chat, they're glorious if you don't want a headset on. If you just, or you're laying down and you're talking. I have no issue with somebody laying down while they're talking in chat. Maybe they're watching a stream while they're laying down. But if you wear a headset and try to lay down, that's just uncomfortable as fuck. I don't care. Oh, dude,
you try to you try to turn it somehow,
or the mic goes into your face or rubs against your beard, and everybody's like, "Dude, your mic's hot," So yeah. But dude, the amount of, not only as somebody said, placebo effect, but also straight up just dishonesty that occurs, especially in the headset area and tech area. Like I said last week, man, if YouTubers truly like their headsets as much, they would have 1,000 headsets, because they change what they like every single fucking video, where they're like, today's sponsors, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not doing it because they gave me money. I'm doing it because I love them. Truly? Why didn't you wear them next week then, bitch? Why didn't you wear them 2 weeks from then? Why didn't you wear them 3 weeks from then? Absy called me out one day. He straight up was like, dude, if you like the Nura so often or so much, why aren't you wearing the Nura? And I was like, oh, because the battery's not good. Like, not good as like these. But that's the kind of question I think we should ask as consumers. If somebody says they like something a bunch, proof's in the pudding, bitch. Yeah, that needs to be front and center. I saw people talking about GeForce Now. Oh, yeah, man, I use GeForce Now. Here's a code for GeForce Now. You should trust me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you never use GeForce Now, ever. So if you like, what are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. I hate that shit. Dylan says, I'm using Philips SHP 950 headsets. Actually, I have those. I think I have the brand. Is there an 8500? Because I actually have, and they're open back, right? Because I have some open back Philips that I'm quite happy with. Oh, my wife's using them because she likes them. Yeah, there's some Philips that I was quite surprised sounded really good. Not surprised as in they're bad. I just hadn't bought a Philips headset in years. So, yeah, good questions, guys. Damn. I have some questions here. Let's see. Goose says, Escape from Duckov memes are everywhere. Does the game actually have depth, or is it pure quackery? Okay, come on. That was very good. I was not expecting that. It's pure quackery.
Yeah.
Dude, that was good. Who's that? Oh, and your username's Goose on the Loose? I have a feeling you changed that just so you could ask all this in one room. Yeah, I guess that's the other question, right, guys? Does a game that explodes mean much after that first 2 or 3 weeks? Because we saw it with the other one, Lethal Company. Was that the game? where Lethal Company was like, oh my God, and you really sort of felt like it was a streamer game. And then it just sort of, I don't know what their numbers are, so I don't want to downplay if they're doing well, but you don't hear about it anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. So, yeah, that's...
Yeah, hopefully not. I think they got some momentum to keep going.
Yeah, I would hope they do. I think they do. I think they're probably doing fine. I mean, a game like that was also fun to play from everybody I talked to. Ooh, somebody reviewed Europa Universalis. Man, I asked for a code for that. God damn it. Oh, it's IGN. Okay. Whatever. Well, wait for more. But looks like the reviews for that are popping up. Let me check OpenCritic. Let's see. Let's look here. What is Universalis? 86%. It looks like Europa Universalis, which I was sort of excited, man. I didn't even know this was already out for review. Goddamn Paradox, man. I asked you guys. 86%. Listen to this. Guys, critics recommend 100%.
Whoa.
That's stunningly high. It is a slightly different thing than the number, but basically it means that across the board of their reviews, this one has been above get it across the board. There hasn't been somebody who's reviewed these games that has gone lower than that. So 100% critics recommend on OpenCritic.
Wow.
6 Axes, 9 out of 10. Game Blog, 9 out
How
of 10.
many of those? How many have come in?
That's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, I'm counting them. CG Magazine, Game Watcher, 8.5. Atira, I've never heard of, 89. Digitech Magazine, 5.5. But why, though? 8 out of 9. The Nerd Stash, 9. Looks like 10. 10 reviews have come in. It is currently ranked in the top 96 percentile of games scored on OpenCritic.
Wow.
Now, admittedly, guys, let's be honest. Me and maybe even less me, but Silver and I may like these kind of games, but I don't think it's probably changing the world, right? Meaning, if you like Duckov or whatever, it doesn't mean you're going to like this regardless of the score, right? So,
well, I think it's also a selection effect that the people who are reviewing this game are already quite likely to like it.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely you're just a variety reviewer. Well, you just said you wanted to jump in, but you've played a lot of these games. I may not have liked it,
but I have played the games. And I did like the changes they were making. Performance, by the way, on the preview was fucking horrendous. So the biggest thing I'm going to do is after we're done with the podcast, I'm going to go look and see if they mention performance. Because if these guys are like, this game rocks, and then the rest of us buy it, and it's 1 FPS on a fucking basically turn-based text mostly game, I'm going to be pretty pissed. But the preview's FPS during like navigation of the map was atrocious. It was horrendous. So hopefully these reviewers mention that, because that would suck, right? You want it to be smooth. You're scrolling around a map. You don't want that thing to look like dog shit. You want it to be like at least somewhat good. But yeah, I'm excited, man. Good for them. SHP 9500 is a legendary model. Legendary. Bep says, how do you EU? 4K hours review in progress. How do you EU? How do you EU? I don't know what that means. I have too many of these.
Universalis, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know how do you EU? I have too many of these games, and I get on a Steam sale. It's just too much, and every time you boot them up, they're patched to the point where my knowledge is useless. Yeah, that could be true. I mean, admittedly, it's a history game, so if you patch up and suddenly India isn't India anymore, that'd be a problem with the game, not a problem with you or your knowledge. Can you imagine that? They launch a patch, and you log in, and it's like India is up where Alaska is. It's like, I feel like that's a problem that exists that's far beyond just your knowledge. What else do we got? Do we have?
Did you see that Don't Nod developers announced they are doing a Netflix partnership?
I did.
For a new game.
For a new IP, a big IP, new game, right?
Yeah, they said it's, quote, a new narrative video game based on a major IP at the Montreal studio.
So we talked about this in chat. Like, does that mean Stranger Things? And would that capture the same? Stranger Things is on its 5th season, going out, being done. They've got it. The Duffer Brothers are doing another Stranger thing, as well as something non-Stranger Things. I don't know if Stranger Things is the best. Like, I like the idea, but we just talked about this with Kryn and Lord of the Rings. Stranger Things is weird if you're rip off number 7 or whatever her name is, number 11. You know, if you rip off all the characters, you're not the kids. Like, so.
Yeah, and if it's going to be not the kids, then what are we doing? Is it just another group of kids? You know, is it a...
No, what if it's called...
Because then you're back
what if
to
it's
comparing.
called like Stranger Things and the group is called Not the Kids and that's what it's about. I mean,
maybe you could set it at a different time period than the 80s.
Yeah, you would have to, right? If you're doing Stranger Things, but then it misses that nostalgia. I mean, you could do 90s, but nobody wants to remember the 90s.
That's a big part of the whole
We
thing.
could do 1950s nostalgia.
But what paranormal? I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't anything. I don't remember as far back as like at least, and I study paranormal stuff. I don't remember a ton of stuff happening in the 1950s. But you could do something.
I mean, that was the start of like the UFO craze with
That's
Roswell in 48.
Yeah, that's true. You could do something around Roswell. I feel like Stranger Things may not be the best mix, is I guess what I'm saying. I think maybe with IPs on Netflix, there's probably something there that they could, because they have a lot of supernatural stuff on Netflix too. You know, just not Stranger Things stuff. They've got a shit ton of like, dude, I would kill for this. It's not going to happen, but I'm going to say it right now. I already came up with my best idea. Travelers. If they did a Travelers Telltale where it was the new set of Travelers, I would be all for that. Travelers is so good. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting to see. I think Stranger Things is on the end of its rung, though. Just personally, I just feel like, and I love it, but
I mean,
I feel like there's not a lot left.
I've gone to the 4th season. I thought the 4th season was pretty bad, to be honest.
Maybe I do too, because I don't remember much of the 4th.
I also wasn't that great on the 3rd either.
Well, damn, did you like any of it? Jesus, I'm just joking.
Yeah, the first and the second.
And the second, yeah. I know, that's why I was a joke.
It's a drop after that, yeah. For me.
Dark. Oh, Dark was the one that wasn't in English, right? And it was all subtitles.
Dude,
that was
the dubs
I tried,
were so bad, bro.
Yeah.
I started watching that. I legit thought my TV had an audio sync problem because they would go like moving the mouth
it
and
was
then
way
like
after.
Yeah,
I remember that shit. Yeah,
it was
way
terrible.
After. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix that you could do. They have a lot of Netflix originals. But they say big IP, so I would have to go look at what their big Extraction. Okay, they said Telltale. Come on,
sure.
It's not going to be an Extraction game. That would be hilarious.
Umbrella Academy, maybe. It's a little bit video game like.
Is it big? I mean, it was for a little while, but it felt like Umbrella Academy embraced its weirdness.
Fell off a bit.
And just said.
Yeah, it was definitely
not really a big IP either, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big IP. I think like it may be in comic books, right? Wasn't that originally a comic book?
Yeah, in the comic book, in the comic book world, it was quite like, you know, revered. But yeah, admittedly was a bit niche.
Revered was always a word when I was growing up that I hated when I read it because it's like revered. It just, I don't know. It's one of those words that you read and it doesn't make a lot of sense the way it's
one letter away from reversed.
Yeah. And it was always a little bit confusing. Yeah. What else?
Isn't that crazy how words so close to each other can be completely different? Like timelines and timeliness only have one S.
Well, that's going to haunt me forever now. Great.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna fuck
you're welcome. Yeah.
Bep says, haha, spoiled English-speaking natives. For my whole childhood, I never had lip sync. I don't know what that means.
Fair.
I mean, Johnny, you also have languages where one word means like 5 different things.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
600 words for snow, even though that's not true.
Including mine in Danish, yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck to non-Danish speakers. And
whenever somebody says Danish, I always think of the confection anyway. I don't even think of the people or the nation. I just think of being hungry and wanting a sugary confection. Damn it.
That's exactly what we want. That's how we want it.
Exactly. The pastries or whatever.
We're going to destroy you slowly through sugar, carbs, and fatness. Anthony says old kung fu movies are the best. Yeah, I loved watching those. My sword will say goodbye to you.
Sammy Chung. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, I grew up on USA Channel Sunday morning kung fu, the Kung Fu Theater. Man, those were great. Now I suppose you couldn't like them because it's probably considered racist or whatever. I don't see how that's possible because it is different length of words, for meaning. So it's gonna have that situation. But Kung Fu Theater was one of my favorite things in the world growing up, man. God, I love that shit. What else we got? Anything? We got any other news? Any other cool tidbits of tantalizing tales?
I had some.
I'm gonna stop.
Some indeed tantalizing science facts.
Go ahead.
I was trying to see if you guys thought I was frozen.
Completely frozen. I'm just trying to figure out if he's frozen in the video or.
Okay, go. These are science. These are tantalizing, strange science facts. Right?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Yeah. Number one, the James Webb Space Telescope discovered a tiny moon around Uranus.
No laugh.
I've never known how. Okay, I've never known how to pronounce
Uranus
it.
is how I pronounce it.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's Uranus, right?
Yeah. Let's just double down.
We'll stick with
that.
Uranus. Yeah. They
the
discovered
moon,
a new moon.
Yeah, it's around 10 kilometers in diameter.
Okay, that's an asteroid. We talked about this. That ain't a moon.
Is that like 5 miles?
Yeah, I don't know because nobody does that. We do freedom units here. I have no clue, but no, it would be. It's more than that, right? Isn't it 1.2? Isn't it 1.2?
Like 6?
Yeah, I think it's 1.2.
6 miles,
or
maybe?
something like that. Dude, come on, man. It's an asteroid. It's an asteroid that got caught.
I don't know. That's a good question. That actually begs the question: what is the requirement for it to be a moon versus a? Yeah. Well, right. It has to circumnavigate. Yeah.
But I mean,
so I guess that's the thing.
Come on, that's
it's big enough to be in orbit.
1.6. Somebody says I'm gonna believe somebody in our chat. Not with like surgery, but I'll believe this number 1.6. 1.6.
Yeah, I will believe this person
for this, and this only.
The idea of a secret moon, it's kind of sexy. It's like a video game premise. It's like, oh, this story takes place in the secret moon.
Yeah, I always like that kind of stuff.
It's never visible due to whatever, like sun refraction.
And somehow it's got like a species on there that's like just they swim in a frozen ocean of
they've just
some
adapted
chemical.
to no sunlight and like somehow they just thrived.
Just pissy that they can't launch into space because they have no heavy metals. They just all they see. Well, actually, their roof would be just frozen water. So I guess they'd be like, well, that must be all that's there. That's it. Nothing else. Yeah, I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Yeah, you're right. It's not really.
Yeah, anything that can fit within my state, and that is almost within just two cities.
That's a very American thing to say.
But come on.
Okay.
I mean,
like London Estate is.
But it's 10 miles or something. It's pretty small for a moon around a planet, right?
Yeah, it's pretty.
But Pluto's a moon. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That's grandfathered in. Anything else, though, I get,
Okay.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson can fuck off. What else we got?
True. He wrote a whole book on that. How Pluto is not. Yeah. This one about biology. So scientists found evidence that oxygen can be produced in the deep sea. So on the deep sea floor, they got these weird sort of plant or reef-like things that create oxygen. They're calling it dark oxygen. Dark. Because, until there was an expectation that only like plants could generate oxygen through, photosynthesis and stuff. And so this is kind of cool. You have this in Subnautica, the plants that are like spitting oxygen, and you can just breathe from them. But yeah, that's That's
You
kind
also
of
have
new.
the what's the liquid that has oxygen properties as well that they also used in
Abyss.
Abyss. Yeah.
Ooh.
That shit's awesome. I love the idea of that. I mean, I wouldn't want to breathe it, but I love the idea. What else we got?
No, me neither. But yeah.
Well, this other thing that I found here is that recently they've discovered over 800 new marine species in like last 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That kind of just blew my mind because, well, led me into this rabbit hole of looking at deep sea stuff. A lot of these are deep sea creatures that they've discovered, and we've explored something like less than 10%
Yes.
of the ocean floor, even with all our tech, right? All our fancy gadgets.
On a side note for that, there was a cave complex that they found in Peru, I believe, like within the last 5 years, and this was awesome. In the same cave complex, some of the caves will still be cut off from each other, but they're considered a part of the same complex. And within two different deep complexes, they found species that were completely separate, of like spiders, blind fish, and even though there was somewhat of a comparison where like something got down there or over a period of time, they had completely genetically modified over the years to something else. And they were saying that like within those, we may find out because of their ability, they are not a safer, but they are in some ways a better, more verdant area for life. That the idea that within cave complexes, which by the way, is everywhere on every continent, like cave complexes, they may be deeper, they may be, thinner, wider, whatever, but they're pretty much every single continent has tons of them. They were saying that might be the place where you would find way more life than even in the ocean because they're separated so many times. So you get these different ecosystems, and the amount of variable life is quite high in those. I think that's really cool. I love the idea of that. I mean, unless they're like stinging tentacle spider monkeys, and then I wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
But like I do like the idea of going down there and finding one. Wonder
Do you
what
think
a
that's
blind
why
fish
there
from a
are
cave
so
tastes
many?
like.
The Lion King is
Oh,
freaky though.
Way too freaky. Way too freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are some gutsy dudes where they're like, hold my feet,
Yeah.
man. Hold my feet. If there's anything, by the way, that isn't sex, where I tell one of you guys to hold my feet, we have a problem. That's a dangerous situation you're in. If you ever say hold my feet,
Sure.
that means your entire safety mechanism is the dude that's next to you. Hold my feet while I put my face down a subterranean hole. No, dude. No.
yeah.
No, if that's a requirement
Absolutely
of
not.
whatever you're doing, you do it, fine, but I'm not getting a part of it. That'd be scary as shit. What else we got?
Well, the other thing that popped up this week is this humanoid robot that's being sold. It's called 1X Neo. Did you guys see this?
I did. Yeah.
It's wearing a sweater. It's a posh, like, turtleneck look. And this thing, right now it's like pre-order, right? So you leave a deposit, you pay $20,000,
Of course.
and you get this thing next year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the business. But this thing is being announced as being an autonomous house robot that's going to help you with chores. It's going to do the dishes. It will like put away dishes, maybe put some clothes in your washing machine, open the door for you, this type of stuff. However, there's a big, like, small print that they don't tell you, which is that they are remote operated right now entirely. There's a dude on the other side, somewhere in India, controlling your Neo robot. It's like looking around in your house and then figuring out how to,
Yeah.
move stuff around and do. So it's fully operated right now. They are saying, of course, hey, this is just the early. They're going to learn and then be able to be fully autonomous. I don't think they've shown any proof that they can be. So it's definitely a bit dodgy. And a couple people did some demos on YouTube. People are curious. You can search for 1X.
But did they do a demo of a person in India controlling the robot?
Yeah.
So that's not a robot. That's an RC car.
Right.
That's not a. Any demo they did wasn't a demo of a robot.
The real thing.
It was a demo of, can I control an item from far away?
Yes.
That looks more like a person than a drone. That's ridiculous.
And what blew me away too is that, like, part of the demo, they were talking to the robot, right? And I assumed it's gonna be a ChatGPT or a large language model, but they were talking to the dude. So, like, when they talk to the robot right now, it's not a large language model.
Yeah.
They're just talking to the operator.
Right.
It's the dude. How weird is it?
I don't even trust cars currently, EVs with like self-driving and stuff like that. We've got people in our Discord who have them. I brought this up and somebody's like, well, I drive one all the time and I trust it. And I'm like, well, good for you. You can trust it. But currently, I think the statistics are still out that we have a lot of, repairs and fixes. That thing is just driving on a flat surface. A fucking robot has steps, has ramps, has outdoor decks,
variations
has dogs,
of houses,
cats,
like
chipmunks,
setups,
sugar babies, fucking finches. It's got to worry about, and by the way, it's not putting any goddamn dishes up at my house because my dishes are way high. My wife can't even reach them. No robots reaching the dishes. So if I get one and it's built for a dude like me, that thing's going to be 1% of usefulness. I'm just going to have a random person from India watching TV with me in my house. That's creepy as fuck. So basically, for $20,000, I bought myself a friend from India.
Letting you sleep in the bedroom.
Yeah, just staring in a corner. You put a chair in the corner. It's just
the fact that they talk to you and hear you talk.
And what's ridiculous
makes it so much worse.
It's not even worse. It's just, that's not even a thing to be like. I have seen the robots where they're fairly autonomous and they're using, but they have issues with 3D geometry and stuff like that, figuring things out, picking things up. What I do love is this, because it has been proved that the attention mechanism, in particular large language models, which won't be what runs these, people are using that. I just saw somebody today talking about large language models, and I'm like, you don't understand, man. That's one type of transformer, and it's used for a very specific thing. It's not exactly what you use for autonomous robots. But what I would love to see is a house, like we put a house together, or an internal room. You put your dishes, everything, and you let it go, and you just say, figure it out, like a baby figures out. And Patel, on the guy who does all the AI stuff, has discussed this, that a baby will put a foot in its mouth and figure out, that's my foot. That's how the baby learns. The baby goes, well, that's my finger. It's learning through the senses that are used to it. I would love to see these just trained in that way, because a lot of times what you get is they'll be like, here's a camera and this robot arm picks up a Coke can 100 times. It's like, great, whatever. But that's not the same thing as picking up a Coke can that's rolling across an uneven floor or is on carpet, which is different than picking it up because you'll pick up the carpet. I mean, we've all done, I don't know about you guys, but if something's on like my mouse pad, I can accidentally pinch the mouse pad when I'm trying to grab something. That kind of stuff really happens. Let that computer go fucking wild in a house. Just shut the door. No man controlling it, like from a call center, and be like, okay, please learn, and just let it go. And one of the things they have figured out is that the attention mechanisms, when the entire world is being used instead of a camera facing like some items, it does learn faster, and its attention mechanisms start to understand how to remove attention on one thing and put attention more on the new thing much more quickly than a model staring at 3 Coke cans. That's ridiculous. And I also would watch a video of that. I would watch an entire channel of just robots learning shit. Shut a door, put a robot inside of a china closet, and be like, you go, girl. See what it destroys. Put it inside an antique store, go. Put it inside a car dealership, go. Put it inside my house, go. Put it inside, and just let it go and see what happens, and let it learn from that, and then take all that data. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Let it pilot.
That's kind of what we need.
Anybody who trusts automatic cars, let it pilot your next flight.
Whoa.
No? If you trust it so much, let it pilot your next flight. Admittedly, there are some.
they're getting pretty good now.
Landing. Yeah, there's a couple airplanes that do have that. They're pretty good.
No, I mean the cars.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good. I
They're
mean,
pretty good.
humans, there's way worse humans and there's way better computers. You know, that's sort of the thing.
Because
But
they've been learning just over time, right? And there's so much sample data that they can use. I think that's what's lacking with this experiment or this type of thing, which is the entry point is so inaccessible to most people. Like, who can afford, to throw away $20,000 on something that likely won't work?
Well, and it doesn't
To have enough.
What you're describing doesn't even have the ability to work because it's a dude on the other end. It's not working no matter what.
I mean, they are claiming it will learn and become autonomous, but let's be real. No proof has been shown that it even can. Like, what is the path?
Yeah, what's the path to learning if somebody else is doing everything?
And then if you have, 10 people buying, whatever number it is, it's going to be a small number of people. You're just not going to have the data, right? You would need
thousands.
The amount
of groin injuries from those things is going to be super high because guys are going to be like, come here, robot.
Dude, you would need data from like hundreds of thousands of homes for them to understand how to navigate 3D space.
Or imagine, have you guys ever seen the video of a robot get knocked down and get back up where they twist and they flail? Dude, imagine a dog knocking it down by jumping on it like you do a kid. You see the dogs come up and palm a young child, a child will fall down. Imagine that robot falling down, doing a fucking breakdance move, spin kicking the dog. If you have a big dog, that dog's going to attack that robot $20,000 down the tube. Like, you need to release that shit into test facility, like almost build multiple test facilities and say, let it go in, change that, let it train. But yeah, no, that's weird.
Yeah,
it is what it is, but that's fake. That seems fake. All of
we're not there yet.
No.
The robotic stuff is.
Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah. What else you got, Johnny?
That's it from me this week, man.
I didn't get a chance to do any science stuff this week. You know what's weird, man? We can sort of like pare this down. Man, I sort of like, I don't know. I this week I think I woke up on Thursday and thought it was Tuesday, which was, that's horrible. But I just haven't been in the mood for like reading real shit or listening to real shit. I've been doing a lot of like random TV shows and stuff. Couple cartoons. But for some reason this week has been hard mentally. Not because of any of the other stuff, but just literally, I don't know why, but like my brain hasn't learned anything. I feel like I didn't learn shit this week. And usually every week, that's what I'm trying to do. This week's been bleh. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
No, I feel that too. I've been reading the Harry Potter books I mentioned to you. I'm on the third book. Mm-hmm. And then when I finished the book, I watched the movie. And
smart.
Yeah, it's been a cool little journey because they're nice fairy tales, just the way
absolutely.
I describe it. Yeah, they're nice, full of sort of Christmassy vibe, like
definitely the first one. In fact, the first one definitely felt like a Christmas movie, if that makes sense. Just when it happened, the setup, what everybody wears. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I just it's funny because I find myself all the time like being outraged by what the teachers allow and stuff like that. They allow some outrageous stuff to go on, right? And even though Dumbledore knows everything, he also completely allows Harry Potter to be in like the worst situations ever. And he's like, I'm just gonna send you my bird to help you out. Or like I'm gonna send you the sorting hat in this very critical fight. Really, bro? You're sending me a hat against a giant snake.
Was it against the? I was trying to remember which one they sent the hat in. I got to read those again. I got to read something.
Yeah, they're a good time. There's lots of those things like, dude, that makes no sense. But then again, you got to always remind yourself it's a fairy tale. Doesn't have to make sense. It's just, go with it. One of the things too, by the way, all the foods are awful. So they go to these shops, they have candy, they got chocolates and all this stuff, but every single thing is absolutely horrible. It's like a cockroach explosion candy. It's a frog chocolate that like moves inside your stomach like a real frog. It's like, what the fuck are we doing, guys?
That's gross.
Like, can we not come up with some good shit? You know, with all your magic. Yeah.
What do you think about that, guys? When you play a video game like Final Fantasy or Dragon's Dogma 2, and it goes to real looking meat, which admittedly looked good, but it did break the graphical line across the game. Graphics, you know, polygons,
Boom,
blah, blah, blah,
FMV,
boom, FMV,
whatever.
or I saw another game recently that is a cooking game, and none of the food is not real. It's just pictures. Do you ever think of that? Or is it just like, whatever, it is what it is? Because to me, I do think of it. I noticed it in Final Fantasy, boy band, Final Fantasy. I noticed that he was making salmon or something. I remember going, oh, that's a real picture of salmon. And it caused me a moment of like, doesn't look like the rest. It's almost like CGI cutscene versus normal. Wasn't
or
bad or
Dragon's
anything.
Dogma with the real like.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So does that bother you?
Yeah.
Not bother you. Obviously, it's not going to bother you. Would you rather
initially there's a dissonance, and then
Yeah.
it just goes away.
and then it goes away? Because it's not a big deal. It's just interesting, and it's a smart move. But I guess my worry is that somebody's going to start just taking pictures of a bunch of shit. I mean, I guess that's photogrammetry, which is how you do textures. Vanish and Ethan Carter did textures that way and stuff. But it's like, at what point? Yeah, at what point? Like, it's
Needles
happened.
grass back in the day, right?
Oh, dude. Remember grass systems, Silver, like back in the day when it was a green texture and you were happy, and then it was a green texture that looked like it had really bad cancer for years, and it was just a couple tufts of grass, like fingers, and you were like, oh, wow, that's grass. And then you play like Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, and you've got this like waist-high, beautiful grass, or Ghost, beautiful grass. How far we've come. Do you know what hasn't extended, guys? Now, bear with me. Water. Now, I don't mean it doesn't look better, but bear with me.
You're absolutely.
It's never a mass. It's never a connective tissue thing like real water is. You see a creek and it goes down and it looks, you can tell it's not moving. It looks like it's moving, but you know it's not a thing. And you'll see it go over a rock and it'll look like jello. And obviously, if you attach physics to it, then you have to have an eternal basin of water, because you could run out of water. We've seen that in games where you can drain something. God of War Ragnarok had that amazing scene. Wasn't it God of War? Or was it Hellblade? It was Hellblade 2, actually, wasn't it? Where you drained the lake?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or is that Ragnarok?
Yeah.
No. You drain a lake in God of War.
You do, but do you drain a lake in Hellblade 2 as well?
There was something like that.
Something like that. Okay, so anyway, long story. But water, it's a mass and it moves and goes away. We haven't had that yet in games. I like the way water looks, but then also you'll see it splash like on the edge of beaches. It still looks bad. Even the games with the best water haven't got there yet. I'm wondering when that'll sort of get the grass treatment, right? When we'll finally, like, you'll see rocks and stuff and the water just goes right over the top. Like, it'll cut the rock in half. You'll just see the water go when it's moving on.
I think there's some stuff that is going to be not prioritized. Like, that's not super prioritized.
No, I'm just saying they're prioritizing smaller stuff now. I'm wondering when because somebody will.
I mean, we do also have games like Sea of Thieves or earlier ocean-based games where the water physics are
GTA
part
5.
of the crux of the game.
GTA 5's got good water for an old game, I think. Like, I actually think it looks good. Did you guys notice in Avowed there is, admittedly, I can't remember if you guys played a bunch of Avowed, but in Avowed there's one area where the water comes up and goes down, and you actually see it flood a small pathway when the water's up. And I thought that was really cool. It sounds like such a numbnuts thing to care about, but when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's fucking cool. Awesome. You run through it and you slap from your feet hitting the water.
It would be cool if you had, like, you know, when it's heavy raining, if you had some floods.
Yeah, I love, there's a couple games that do puddles, I guess. I love that kind of stuff, man. or snow buildup in games. That's so great when you see like what was the game? Shadows, which Shadows took so long and it did some weird stuff with time that I didn't even know that Shadows, the snow melts and turns into mud. I was like, dude, that's love that. Love it, man. I think that stuff is great.
Yeah, there's still a lot of games where the water ends up looking like liquid mercury or just with this sheen on it.
Yeah, definitely looks like that. Or do you know what the worst is too? I don't know if anybody, you guys probably haven't had this, but in Oregon, we have a lot of creeks. We have a lot of rivers. You got the ocean. So there's a lot of bodies of water you can swim in. And no game has handled this right, guys, where you go underwater and look up. It never looks right from the bottom, because I've done that before. You know, as long as you don't have contacts in, you can open your eyes. Saltwater, you can do it. It stings a little bit, but actually it doesn't hurt that bad. I guess you get used to it. But we have a lot of rivers and creeks and lakes. So you go into a lake and you look up and there's a very whoa, I just turned blurry. There's a very distinct look, and I don't think it's ever been right yet. Not even a single time. It always looks very like a movie theater playing something on a film or on a screen. It never looks, something about it hasn't looked right yet. Be cool to have a game where it was all underwater like Subnautica. But wait a minute. Do you remember the game, Silver, where you were a spaceship underwater and there was a lot of Aquanox? Aquanox. Does that sound right? Let me look this up.
What's a game called Aquanox, but I don't remember it being a spaceship underwater.
Well, it was an underwater vessel like Subnautica. Yeah, okay, so submarine-based first-person shooter, and it's called Aquanox. That one did it right. It had particulate, too. So when you were jetting around, and I know Subnautica has this, I just want to point out Aquanox was like 85 years ago. You know, like it was ancient. And you saw like all the particulate and changing of water gradients. So when you went into, we'll call it deep oxygen areas from whatever the science thing was, Johnny Read. But
dark oxygen.
Dark oxygen. But you went in, you saw the different gradients of like different water and the debris. So good. That was actually a pretty goddamn fun game. Wonder what that looks like now. Wonder if there's mods to make that look current. I mean, technically, No Man's Sky, you can get submarines, right? So no need to play Aquanox. It doesn't No Man's Sky have subs now? Submarines? The ability to like...
Right.
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. What else do we got before we wrap it up?
Go ahead. Expedition 33 had a level where it was like an underwater place. You could still walk normally.
That was a weird
It was
level.
just weird.
Dude,
yes.
Was that not a little bit like you just did a bunch of DMT and didn't know what was going on? I was so confused at first, going, why in the fuck am I not seeing the water? I thought it was a graphical effect. I should be seeing the water, but I don't. I was...
Yep. And then you look up and it's like, I'm definitely underwater. Yeah. Whale over here. Yes. Shark, like, definitely underwater.
You're like, I'm for sure underwater, but there's no water. But everything is like I'm underwater.
Just running. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was a good time though. I did like that level. It was a cool effect. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Speaking of cool effects, we're gonna have one right now called "Give This Video a Thumbs Up," and it has an amazing effect on the channel. It absolutely helps. If you guys get a chance, you can give a thumbs up to the video. Give some comments when this is done. It's also super helpful for getting the word out. I know that we sort of do this stuff on the side, but it always does help. Also, there's the Substack if you want to join up. Substack's where I usually just break down something I'm doing or talk about some idiosyncrasy in gaming that I dislike but don't want to do a full video on because they take a long time, and sometimes you don't have the footage for some of this shit because it's weird stuff. Like the last one was about a company that told me they'd been watching the video for a great deal of time and they felt I would be a good mix and a good partner with them. So let's talk about sponsorships. And I was like, man, you fuck. And then I got mad from the point of their employer, because their employer is a major company that paid them. They paid this gentleman. I'm going to be nice. They paid this gentleman money that he's billing somebody to copy paste something. It just pisses me off, man. It's like, dude, you could have found, what if you had sent that to somebody who actually was okay with that stuff? That would have been great. Why send it to me? You're just wasting time. I just hate that shit. So we did that. We do a lot of different stuff. Speaking of water, are we ever going to get another BioShock game?
Probably not.
That's a good. Yeah, let's end it on that. So a true BioShock game. We have the remakes, right? You got remasters or remakes coming. I think I heard one of them is being remastered. It's been a while since I covered that news. He's talking like BioShock Infinite 2 kind of thing, like a true totally sequel. I don't see how unless Ken doesn't own BioShock though, right?
I don't believe he does. No.
I don't believe he does. Okay. Wait a minute. There's a new BioShock coming. There is a new BioShock. Because I remember about 3 years ago, there was a new BioShock coming. I don't want to say there still is. But about 3 years ago, we did a podcast. I believe I was on Maddie's podcast, and we were talking about it because I had heard it was either snow-based or in somewhere where it was like an ice, like there was some not screenshots, but some concept art I got sent that it was like it was. But there is a BioShock 4. There is a BioShock 4. I'm sorry, I said there wasn't. Judas sounds very interesting if they can pull off the narrative Lego. I can't wait for Judas, man. I'm so stoked. It'll probably be good. Has Ken made a bad game? That's not me being a dick or saying he's amazing. I'm saying Ken's stuff takes a long time and is good.
Yeah.
Right.
And that time dilation thing looked awesome.
Dude, yeah.
I mean, System Shock, Freedom Force.
Yeah, Freedom Force was great. System Shock, BioShock Infinite or whatever, and then Judas is the next one. So we'll see. But I think he understands, man. I think he takes a long time. If I was his bosses, I'd be like, should we have told him he could take as long as we want? Should we have put some kind of time limit on there? But
so looking up some data from September
for BioShock
around the
Thank you. Go for it.
So BioShock 4 has technically been announced.
Yeah.
And we know next to nothing about it, but it has been officially confirmed. And it's been developed by sorry, my cat.
Isn't this Mafia? One of the 13
2K Games.
Yeah, but it's
2K Games are publishing it. And the developer is a studio called Cloud Chamber.
Cloud Chamber. There we go. Thank you. Jeez. Yeah, and I believe that was the one that, at least one of the rumors was snow-based, like Antarctica kind of thing, like another separated society somewhere else. You could do a lot of stuff with the separated societies. I like that idea. Sorry. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Well, that'll be it for us. Johnny, what are you streaming this weekend if you're streaming anything?
Cool. I think I'm streaming some Outer Worlds. Probably some League on the side.
Very cool. Silver, have you been uploading to your channel? You been doing a playthrough of anything?
No, not really. I may start uploading something like over the coming weeks, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I have a couple videos coming, but it is a slightly lean time, so expect I'll be doing some news on the side, that kind of stuff. Appreciate anybody who gets a chance to stop by and watch those. Hopefully, you guys get a chance to check out the next coming videos, and we will be here next Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Spotify listeners, iTunes listeners, or if you want to catch up on the rest of it because you didn't watch the start, should be live in about 2 hours there. Peace out, everybody. Have an